Welcome, guys.
Yo,
Hey,
What's up?
Thanks so much for joining me.
thank you, Laura,
sure.
for having us.
How
Thank you for having us.
how y'all feeling? Yeah, Dan's got my logo in his screen.
All
What's up,
good?
guys?
What's up,
Hello,
man?
Laura. What's up, peoples?
So the first question I always ask in my interviews that I've been asking for the last 11 years or so is, what is your earliest memory of hip hop?
Oh man,
I like that response.
Kick it off,
when
Keith.
it started, you're talking to people that are all older than hip hop. So, I don't know. For me, it was probably hearing Sugar Hill Gang on a street radio in the late 70s. And I had a friend of mine named Keith that was the first one to backslide. We didn't call it moonwalking back then. This was pre Michael Jackson's naming anything that had anything to do with b-boying. So we called it backsliding. And my friend Keith was the first one to that I saw do it, and I was amazed. And I think I was probably no more than 10 years old. This was in the 70s. And that was, yeah. And Sugar Hill Gang. Those are my two entrances into the world of hip hop. Because at the time, the break beats, because we had break beats and we had we had parties and stuff like that I was a little bit too young to get into, but had older cousins and things like that where I can kind of sit. Mm-hmm. But it was, it was break beats, and it really wasn't a culture at the time, so it didn't really have a name. It was we had break beats, and wasn't really anyone pop. It was just a lot of robotics, and the entrances are locking and things like that. For myself, I didn't really know what it was. All I knew was that it was the coolest shit I'd ever seen at the time, and I wanted to be a part of it. A b-boy first. The rapping came way later, but yeah, b-boy, seeing the b-boy and the Sugar Hill Gang.
Oh yeah. For me, it was seeing a DJ and some little kid just pop locking at a like, I don't know if it was like a quinceañera or like some kind of celebration, and I think it was the Herbie Hancock joint. And Rocket, yeah, and it was like the illest shit I ever I had an out of body experience when I saw that. And then at school, seeing kids pin out like lowriders and like lower pickups. Like there was a car crew called Moving Violations in Long Beach that was hard body and just banging ass breaks, and like Tez said or Zen said before, even it was like rapping or known as hip hop. It was just took me over, man. Like I get chills right now thinking about that experience. For real. Yeah. And I'm the youngest of the crew, so I was actually born in '74, so I'm like baby hip hop right here. So
well, you heard from the oldest and the youngest right there. Mm-hmm. You guys can fill in the middle, right?
Bookends.
For me, I have this picture. I gotta find it. But I have this picture. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, and like in elementary, you would make these little cutout things for Halloween or whatever. And my cutout was a skeleton, but the skeleton was like in a popping formation with a cat, right? So, I remember going to my grandma's house. in San Diego, and we would stay there when my parents would, go to Vegas or whatever.
Mhm.
And across the street was a Samoan family, and one of the younger brothers, his name was Elu. He used to pop all the time, and we used, we were little kids, we we're like 9, 10 years old, just watching them pop with our older uncles. And so I was like, wow, I was so intrigued by that, and that's what the skeleton was. So I think that was pretty much my first hip hop, like in introduction to any, what it's called hip hop now, right? So popping, dance culture of it. Yep.
Yeah, for me, my brother was in 8th grade, I think it was, and that means I was in 3rd grade, so it was like 1978, I guess. And my brother was doing a talent show at middle school, and he was doing a comedy routine as the unknown comic, like on the Gong Show. He had like a paper bag over his head, and he was telling jokes. And these cats called the Smith Brothers, they came out, and they just started locking, right? And they're like jumping over broomsticks, and they're doing all kinds of doing a robot. And I was like, I'd never seen anyone dance like that before, and like in real life. And so that was like, I think, once again, like we all said, right after that, I was at some church dance, and I was a 3rd grader. They were like, put on these records for me. So I was just in the record booth, and they just kept handing me records to play. And another crew from Carson, it was like, play Barquet's Holy Ghost, and I put it on, and they got out there and they started locking. I was like, that's that thing again. They're doing that thing. So as a kid, that was my first introduction to the dance aspect of it without realizing what it was. And ironically, the Smith brothers, they were cousins of these cats that were 1 or 2 years older than me. So when I got into 6th grade, like 2 years later, those dudes were the ones that taught me how to pop. Like, they were the ones that came up and they were popping and stuff. And I was like, oh, show me how to do that, because I've seen, they're like, oh, those are my cousins. So through the lineage of that, those are the guys that showed me how to pop and lock, and that's how I first got introduced to hip hop. But I mean, yeah, like Zen said too, Sugar Hill Gang was my first audible, like, first hearing that song, like memorizing it front to back, just going, what is this?
Yeah, right.
Amazing music. Like, I want to learn that, so. But musically, I think that was the first thing. But dance-wise, it was the Smith brothers that really put me on exposed me to it.
Well, I pretty much been saying in a lot of interviews, like I pretty much discovered when I was hip hop when I was in 7th grade. So it's like, like Zen says, we didn't know it was called hip hop. Couple, like obviously Sugar Hill Gang, Riper's Delight was my first rap record per se, but like my friends' older brothers and sisters, like Key would say, like, listen to funk or whatever, whatnot. But in terms of seeing popping or whatever, whatnot, in junior high, I mentioned this in a couple of interviews, is that seeing during lunch, someone broke out a boombox from their duffel bag and form a circle, and they start popping the Planet Rock. So that was my, my introduction and stuff like that. And I didn't know what it was. So, and you're not allowed to bring radios and boomboxes to schools and stuff like that. Right. So they sneaked it in. So that's pretty much my introduction to hip hop.
Nice. Yeah, most of the people I know usually say something about older siblings or cousins and introducing them. So, so I believe the crew formed in '95. But how did you all meet?
We all met. Well, initially I met Elemental first. No, actually I met. No, I don't know who I met first, but Elemental and I were in a group together in '89. I guess around 1990 is when you joined James' group. We got into a group together that was managed by Ice-T's Rhyme Syndicate, and we had a guy in the crew, and that guy quit, and someone told us about this cat out of Long Beach, a young kid. He was a young kid. His name was Juvenile. And it happened to be Elemental, who was I think you were like a sophomore or a junior in high school at the time. So that's when we first met. We got in the first crew together, like that was put together by a management company. But back then, we from that point, we both started learning how to record in the studio. We used to talk about, hey, we should make a crew. We were just joking around, making up names and stuff.
Hey, Key, to add on, let me just big up I-Man, Rudy Archuleta, that homie from the Mexicans. He introduced me, like he dropped the word, because basically, yeah, it was the name of the group is United Nations Committee, right? And then the white guy quit, so in came another white guy that Rudy happened to know. And so it's basically like we were visionaries before the visionaries.
Right.
Ill, and it was, and what you see now is not what do you call it? It's not as formulated as UNC was. You know what I mean? Like, right? Wouldn't you say that, Key? It was like that was tried, but this shit is all natural right here. This is just Southern California right here.
Right. The idea that Tony Green, our manager, had at the time was really visionary. He was like, I'm going to take two cats, Kelsey from the IRM crew from Minnesota, the first crew to put out a 12-inch record in Minneapolis. They're like OGs of the Midwest hip hop. He was like a mentor. He told me like, oh, you need to like start listening to records and trying to find samples, and this is how you produce, and this is how you do this and that. And Sinful from the Mexicans, who ended up being I-Man's partner in the Mexicans, he was in the crew as the Mexican cat. But it was a visionary idea, but it was contrived. And so at that simultaneously, like as I was doing that, I had met Zen, because Zen was working with a promoter that I used to be the main DJ for him when he first started, and Zen started working with him, doing bouncing and all that, and we met through that. And so here Zen knew Rhett through different people, and then I met Rhett through Doug Kato, who was started managing me at the time after the UNC crew, and actually I met Rhett through that same promoter. We were Rhett was guest DJing at Princess Club in downtown LA. At Vertigo. Well, I mean,
it was Vertigo.
Glam Slam.
That's right.
And I was the MC for that club through the same promoter that me and Zen worked for, and Rhett came through, and I was like, oh, that's I met Rhett before, but this is the first time I got to chill with him, and we just geeked out on hip hop. And through the years, we kind of stayed in touch. And Rhett owed me a beat tape. He's like, I'm going to make you a beat. We talked on the phone one day. I'm going to make you a beat. I got an SP12. I got these beats. And then he never sent them to me, right? And then like about a year later, my manager at the time, Doug Kato, who helped, he was a co-founder of Up Above Records. He was like, I ran into my friend, Rhett Malik from back in the day from I've known him from DJing. I'm like, oh, Rhett, tell him he owes me a beat still. So then he calls up Rhett, and then we go to Rhett's garage in Cerritos, and Rhett plays me all these beats, and then we just started recording. And lo and behold, Rhett's like, we should make a group, man, because we knocked out like 4 songs in like a couple of days, whatever. So, and then Zen was also met Danu through the same means, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because Danu came up
like a couple of years after, right at the point when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, because you were going through the transition, No More Wicked, and had linked up with Brett,
right.
and I had No More IQ because I had moved on too, and I ran into Danu because Danu again through the same promoter. Man, we got to give some big ups to Kanagawa, dude. Kanagawa brought a lot of shit together. But and I met him through one of the other clubs that we did at the time, which was Barwinkles. I think it was Barwinkles, which is one of those ones down there in Long Beach. Yeah. And that's where I met him. And then we started building, and I just felt like it was almost I needed to bring the two together. I'm hanging with Key over here, hanging with Danny over here, and it was like, okay, let's connect it up. And And those two connected big. Half the time I'll be up in LA and those guys be hanging out down in the South Bay. So yeah, it was very organic. I know that much. It was not like we were like, let's form a group. We all knew each other. I knew Rhett from before too, because I would always see him at the spots. And I remember he used to have that gold. He used to have that gold card. I think I had a small stack of them because he'd give it to me every time. I said, "You do give me a call." I'm like, "Yeah, man." You know, but y'all know how it was back then. All of y'all know, because Danny was the same way. It took me a minute to really figure out what I was gonna do with myself. But I'm kind of glad that it all went the way that it did. You know, and we all just kind of.
Pages, huh?
And then like
pages back then.
Oh yeah,
then,
page me, homie, page me.
Page me.
Oh, pager.
Right.
And then 2Mix. So how 2Mix? I mean, I know Key met 2Mix or through 2Mix was already having his name circulating, being part of OMD, live and stuff. But I met 2Mix through Raka from Dilated People. So Raka and myself and like Easy Rock and Zulu Ground, we were part of the LA chapter Rock Steady crew. And then but even within that, Raka had his own. They had their own little crews. Like there was this Project Ill Brothers, OMD, Dilated. Well, they were called Fatliners, and then eventually turned into Dilated Peoples. And they even put out a 12-inch through a New World Order label and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's how I in Raka and 2Mix we were hanging out in Mid City and stuff like that, whatnot.
Right.
Raka was going to Fairfax High School too as well. So they were in the hip hop shop. It was at the time on Melrose. Fairfax High School was right around Melrose Avenue. Hip hop shop was across the street. Raka used to be a co-manager for that shop, and everybody used to kind of congregate. And 2Mix and Raka would always rhyme together. So when I met 2Mix, and then this is also at the same time when Visionaries starting to form and stuff. So I said, I would invite 2Mix to come down, and eventually, Key went to UCLA and stuff, and he was able to get us to do a college radio show. So Key and I used to do a college radio show, and 2Mix was also doing street promotions with a good friend of ours, Chris Vargas. They used to call him Malathion. So he would do street promotions for for record labels like for Loud Records, for Wild West Records,
Columbia
and stuff like that. So he would always bring artists over. He brought he'd bring artists or promo records, and it's like, and one time at the show we're just like, yo, what's the freestyle? And then that's when we start really hanging out, and then eventually, Key, correct me if I'm wrong, if when we got an office in was it Wilmington or Carson for Up Above Records, and we had a little studio called the Bomb Shelter, which is like like a makeshift studio where and cats were freestyling and stuff like that, and I think the guys pretty much asked 2Mix to be part of the group by freestyling.
Right.
Is that correct? Right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Key, were the tracks that you were talking about that you worked on with Rhett, was that for the Cosmonauts album?
Yeah, that was like pre-Cosmonauts. We demoed like a bunch of songs, and I think none of them made it on. Well, none of those made it on the Cosmonauts. There's even we had like 3 or 4 or 5 demo songs that we did, but that led to us making the Cosmonauts. Like that was just like us rocking over beats, and that just morphed into recording Cosmonauts, and that's when we started building on it. But I mean, that was all during that time, the formative years of when we were putting stuff together, and finally having Rhett as a producer, like someone that was like, I always worked with different people, but finally having like the thing with Rhett was meeting him. When I first saw him, he was DJing just a set with Prince Whipper Whip and Grandmaster Caz, like rocking. Like I've never seen anything like that before. Like two OGs, but still like a DJ with two. It just felt like I never went to the Bronx, you know, in the early phases of hip hop, but I was being able to see that was just amazing. So to have that as the person you're rocking shows with was just like, it was a no-brainer, you know. So when our crew started forming, like Zen said, Zen was a killer rapper, and he had a falling out with his partner. So did I. Zen's like, I'll just come rock with you and just, you know, I'll just do backups for you. You need help, whatever. And so that's how we started rocking. And when Danu came in the fold and they made their crew, like we all just naturally started rocking together. And of course, James was always doing his thing. He had a group, but then they stopped working. And so, but we were all friends still. So when James started coming through, he's a studio fiend. Whenever we were in the studio, him and Rhett were rapping together. And we were all freestyling, just messing around over a beat, and the word Visionaries came up. It was me, Rhett Matic, and Elemental freestyling in just a studio in Alhambra while we were demoing out songs for Cosmonauts. And of course, the word Visionaries comes up. We're like, oh, that's a dope crew name. And it kind of just stuck, you know, and
yeah, I didn't even know what the fuck that meant. I just said the word and Red just stops the record like, dude. And I'll never forget, he wrote it on the wall. It was like, yo, that's the name of our group. And shit, man. I brought my 4 mimes and an elephant, and the rest was history. Like, yeah, it's fucking I'm even looking at the screen right now. I'm just like, damn, this is amazing. Like, you know, Tumex has kind of always been like, you know, he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's like in and out, you know what I mean? He's
the rover, man. He's got a million things
like,
he's doing.
him not being in this frame is not a big thing, you know what I mean? It's like he's in our hearts, and that's what it is, you know. And what up, Moon?
Yeah, Moon.
Yo. But yeah, no, it's like really it's amazing to see this right now. It's just like, wow, like, I mean, shoot, even having this little one here, it's like, yo, the evolution is real.
I was gonna ask about your newest little one.
Yeah.
Then like
yeah.
She's ready to drop a bar.
A bar?
Yeah,
One bar.
I meant, oh yeah, someone mentioned the Black Forest. Yeah, that's another huge element to all this as well, because man, like, yeah, I've been really thinking about that whole portion of personal history, which has a lot to do with all of us, because Black Forest was such a fierce entity, like, as far as like just, you know, honing in on the craft, and I mean, that's a whole nother heap of information right there. But yeah, man, I just want to go on record saying, man, I love all these fools, man. I love this. This is amazing. This is amazing.
And I think that dynamic of, like, even with Tumex, when we asked him to be in the crew, like, we had Visionaries all settled with the 5 of us already, and our good friend Tyrone, Rhett's good friend Tyrone, was like another just kind of a part of the crew, like loosely, like, you know, he was a producer, and so we kind of already had this thing set. And then when Tumex came around, we asked him to be in the crew. That was like after we were already kind of solid as a crew already. So, but Tumex was, you know, doing this thing with OMD. He was down with all the, you know, the Good Life and the Project Load circuit. But when he joined that crew, that was just like, yeah, man, we all got along. He's dope. We're all like-minded, humble cats, I feel like, and good people. So it just kind of stuck. And that it's still that way. That dynamic's still that way. He comes around and rocks it with us and rides hard for us, and, you know, it's just that dynamic that we have. So
I remember even thinking, like, I don't know, man, that's gonna be too much like UNC, man. Like, I'm always the guy, like, I hate it.
I was trying to fill the quota.
Like,
I'm just kidding.
Like, I hated, like whenever things are like, I'm always like the optimistic skeptic, you know. And it's like when Alex came around, I was like, all right, like, you know, and but I obviously, like I said earlier, is like he's always here with us even when he's not. So even to stifle any of the questions is like, how come? It has nothing to do with his health. It has nothing to do with nothing. Like, it's just his style, and we love him. It's an unconditional love. Like, I left to go on a sabbatical myself, everyone goes through shit in real life, and a group like ours is more of like I don't want to be cliche and say it's a brotherhood, but like high key it is, and it's an unconditional love that we have for each other. So
it's this brotherhood creed that we have.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh boy,
You're punny. You're punny.
Yeah. It's hell of a right though. He's hell of a right though.
He's hell of a punny, huh?
I love that.
Cat's got jokes today, huh?
Hey, it's history, man.
Wasn't there
Yeah,
supposed to be wasn't
up
there
brother
going to be
Ty.
like part of a seventh member, but we didn't really.
Yeah.
At some point, we were like, I don't know. Never mind.
No, yeah, you're good.
No,
You're
say,
drunk.
what do you think?
You're drunk, dude. No.
Nah.
Remember.
Say how you feel.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, the creators are seventh member. That's it. Yeah.
The seventh of a 6-man crew.
oh,
When did the idea for Up Above Records come to fruition?
Well,
That's key.
yeah. Well, Up Above Records was just. It was because when we were at the time, like there was no. How would you say? No market according to major labels, right? They would see. At the time, when you think about it, it was pre-Eminem. It was like when we were shopping stuff in the early '90s. There was no accepted like multicultural anything. You know what I mean? Like so, when we went to record labels, they're like Asian people don't listen to hip hop. We're like, really? Like we know a heck like thousands of we go to these spots that we throw that there's thousands of people that listen to hip hop, but it was just a different time. People the market was looking for, street reality or whatever, or what you want to call gangster rappers and whatnot. And
Right.
and still to this day, like Asians in hip hop, like for us, we were just like, okay, well, if they're not going to sign us to a deal, let's just put something out. But there was Violet Brown, actually, who's a very influential person in the music industry. If you look up all the things she's done for all these different artists, like from a Janet Jackson to a MC Hammer to Cypress Hill to whoever, like Snoop, anyone, like everybody knows who. Now with Tech Nine, anyone that she's helped, she was like, you guys should just do like Too Short and those guys do. I'll just get you a distro deal with indie distribution, hooked us up with people there. She goes, just get some funding. So Doug Cotto, my business partner at the time, was like, yeah, let's just do that. So when Rhett and I had Cosmonauts, we were just like, we'll just put it out ourselves, and that's how Up Above started. Like we just all kind of just had this dream and a vision to like do things on our own and really not let the fact that the machine and the major label industry and all that wasn't really kind of anything that we ever wanted or not wanted to, but out of necessity. We were never a part of that out of situation. We were just like, we just got to put our stuff out regardless. So that's that was the whole start in the inception of Up Above, was because someone like Violet Brown, who just happened to be someone that lived around the block from me, and someone that's very caring of local artists and local people. She's just like, I'll help you guys out, so. And with that being said, that was the inception of Up Above back in 1995, I guess it was. So.
Where did the idea for the logo come from?
For what? The Visionaries logo?
Yes, sorry, for the Visionaries logo.
Which one?
Yeah, Rich one.
Okay, so I probably should have specified. I guess the most recognizable one that obviously you're the visionary, so it looks like an eye.
Right.
An eye. But I was wondering if there's any story behind why it looks the way that it does.
Well, yeah. So I'll take it from here. So Rich One, who's one of my best friends too. So grew up like Key mentioned. So Ty, myself, and Rich, like we all grew up in Syracuse. We're like my best friends. Rich One's a graffiti crew and part of called NASA Crew. So, but he's like one of the illest out of the crew and stuff like that. Well, everyone's with Illis, but he was always, doing stuff. He's the guy that made the Beat Junkies logo. So
Okay.
I asked him to do like, hey man, can you do something for the Visionaries? And then he pretty much designed the logo. I want to say Key probably has some input into it, but but whatever input that he got, that's how the logo came in. But yeah, Rich one was the one that did it. So what's crazy. He's also like, if everybody knows, if back in the days there was a shoe called Creative Recreation. He was the owner and the main designer for the shoes and stuff like that. So he was doing streetwear, but coming up, he pretty much like he did our the Can You Hear It equals MC 12-inch cover, and he did our Cosmonauts cover, and he did the first Visionaries album cover. Correct? Is that correct?
Jinx too.
Which one?
He did the Software Jinx.
There you go, Software Jinx too. Yeah. So yeah.
And Writer's
He
Block.
did 12-inch. Yeah, Writer's Block.
Rated Barrett.
He did this for me.
Nice.
So when the
A
logo
very fruitful gentleman.
when the logo was designed, it was actually when we were doing the sticker for the Here to Stay, our first 12-inch sticker for Here to Stay. If you look at it, it's kind of angled differently, and it has it's more like 3D-ish, and it has like these V's shooting out of it. So if you look at the sticker, that was the initial iteration of the logo, and then we're like, after that, we're like, dude, why don't we just make it kind of like 2D and more flat, so it's just like a symbol. So we took the shadowing off of it, and then it became what it is, like right here, without the shadowing and stuff. Because we're like, we could slap that on everything, because gradients kind of don't look good. And so we're like, let's make it more simplistic. And when we did that, it actually looked like a lot stronger. And so we erased so if you look at, I don't know if I got Here to Stay in here, but if you look at the Here to Stay sticker, it has that logo on it, and you could see where that was the initial iteration of it, and then it got stripped down to be like the icon that it is. Sometimes we do it like this, sometimes we do it with the circle behind it, and we could also do it 3D if we want to at some point. But that's where it all started, off that Here to Stay sticker.
Nice. Dan, I just have to say, I love that your Lakers glass matches my logo. So you mentioned the Can You Hear It release, which was dubbed an underground classic by the Source magazine. Did that bring more attention to the Visionaries?
Actually, it was equals MC5, the B-side cut, that really gave made it gave us the light and stuff. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was because of Raz. Razkaz was on it. So I mean,
Big up Mean Green.
Yeah, rest in peace to Mean Green and Voodoo. So that was probably, ironically, historically, is the first and last ever original lineup of the Western Hemisphere on vinyl before they broke up. Because they weren't even on Raz's Soul and Ice album and stuff like that. So equals MC5 was the one. I mean, Can You Hear It was the kind of like, Key can attest to this. It's kind of like our radio hit, but the B-side was the one that was playing on all the college radio shows, the mix shows, all the hip hop shows. So that gave us the respect, and that's when like you were saying in the Source, every time we get reviewed, they always talk about E equals MC5. So that was that was the one that really gave us the limelight and respect, really.
Nice. So your debut album Galleries dropped in '98. What were your initial thoughts behind creating the record, and did it turn out the way that you had wanted it to?
Well, I think with Galleries, so initially when we started making Galleries, it wasn't even, we had just made a 12-inch first. It was Here to Stay with Say Where on the B-side. And DJ Babu put it on world famous Beat Junkies Volume 1, the mixtape / when you put albums out as mixtapes on CD or whatever. And it had a bunch of other artists from the East Coast and West Coast that were underground artists, and he put Say Where on it. And so that kind of like got our name out there a little bit. And so when we were talking about doing Cosmonauts, Elemental was like, oh, we should just do a Visionaries album. And Babu was like, happened to be there because we were all on a trip in Chicago, and he was like, oh, that would be dope. So right now we're like, yeah, okay, well, let's do that. So initially the whole thought process on the record, I remember Rhett was like, okay, well, everyone do a couple songs each, like Rider's Block, Zen and Daniel, you guys do 2 songs. Key, you do a couple Cosmonaut songs, and then Jane, Elemental, you do a couple songs, and and Tumex, you do 2 songs, like solo songs, and then we'll do a couple crew cuts. So it's kind of like we kind of did it like as separate entities with, we broke up the project like everyone's solo stuff as well as some posse cuts, like some group cuts. So it's kind of like that's when we're just getting our feel as a crew. We're starting to do shows, and we're getting to know each other better as artists and going through the artistic, growth. And so it was kind of like this whole trying to piece together and figure out each individual group within the group and members within the group and group working together. And, we're thinking that if we all rhyme 20 bars each, we're going to have like 8-minute songs. You know what I mean? So it's like we sort of have to think about how do you make it a record that's listenable, that's just not 20 hours of rap, and
well,
so
that's what was the beauty of the name of the album, Galleries, because what we did was we curated a gallery. And so it was like this artist posts here, this artist posts here. And so when you walked in, that's why we left a blank canvas, and you noticed that, on the reverse, we all got together and just, drew up and doodled some stuff on the same blank canvas, because that was our concept. It was like exactly how Key broke it down, was like when you you were entering our gallery at that point, and all of us being individual artists as a whole, and shit, man, like, yeah, that was a great moment. That was a great moment because it was very sacrificial to Key and Red as well, because they had the Cosmonaut album, and like they could have been like, nah, fuck that, we're gonna go do a next Cosmonaut album, whereas they definitely that, and it was instant. It wasn't even argumentative. Like when it was like, hey man, like there's a lot of buzz coming with this Visionary cut that, and so yeah, I'm super stoked for that the way that developed and how it turned out, because yeah, it was a great time, man. Yeah.
Nice. Sophomore Jinx dropped the following year and proved that second album syndrome doesn't affect everyone. What would you say to those who labeled the album too ahead of its time back then?
Oh man, the original art cover was supposed to be Sir Jinx's high school sophomore picture. Remember that?
James Elemental, seriously.
I was dead ass with this too.
I was going to do that. Sorry, I got to grab my charger. My computer's going to die.
I was so serious. So our manager at the time, Mong, he worked at Loud Records. So he had this link. I mean, we all loosely knew Sir Jinx and whatnot, but I was like, hey man, get a hold of him, and we need to get his sophomore year picture. And listen, I left a voice message for him, and that was the most like stupid thing I've ever done, I think, in this, leaving a message like, hey man, this is Elemental, the Visionaries, and we want to use your sophomore yearbook picture for our album cover. Needless to say, he never responded.
He would have gone down in history.
Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's his bad,
Right? That was his loss. His loss.
Yeah.
Oh. 2004 saw the release of Pangea with a track featuring fellow LA hip-hop crew Living Legends. How long had you all known each other at that time? And had you talked about collaborating before?
Well, we like the first people we really met was Mystic Journeyman. That's Sunspot Jones and Tommy. What's Tommy's? Lucky I Am. Yeah. So
Lucky.
I mean, yeah, because we met them. They were making their noise as Mystic Journeymen. You know, like throughout the Bay Area and stuff like that. Especially, we read about them like in Bomb magazine and whatnot. And when we start performing up in the Bay, they would, they were notorious as one of the independent artists really on the streets selling their tapes and stuff, literally like that. So that's how we meet them at the shows. And then when they come down to LA, they come to our shows and they're selling stuff. So that was in terms of all like the legends, that was Mystic Journeymans were the first people that we met. Eventually, as their name grew, we obviously heard about Grouch. And we didn't know everyone from legends at the time, even though they were starting to make their names and stuff like that. I mean, eventually, but Sunspot Jones and Lucky I Am were the first people we met, and then obviously throughout the years going through the circuits, we've done shows together here and there, like whether they're entities. Like it's almost like them. They got their own groups within their groups. It's like us, like sometimes we form with Murs. Sometimes we form with Aesop, Grouch, or Eli, whatever. It's just different entities and stuff like that. But that's how we met. That's how we met. Or connected with the legends and stuff. In terms of the posse cut, I'm trying to remember like how did the idea come up of us doing a song with legends? I'm trying to remember. Anyone can jump on this one?
Well, I remember the after the fact was like, yo, we should put a different beat, and I'll never forget. That was like it was like pulling teeth because remember Red? I was like, hey man, is if every MC gets a different beat.
Yeah.
And at this point, because I was at Rhett's apartment with the whole Living Legend crew, and it's not like it's like some Crips and Bloods, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm with the Living Legends. I could get free, it's not about that. But it was kind of a loose tension even within their crew. You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, Merch wasn't even there, but everybody else was. It's kind of like some Tumex stuff. But anywho, after the fact, so everyone laid it to one beat, and then we listened to this 40-minute song, exaggerating obviously, but then it was like, yo, that would be sick if Key and Brett flips a beat for every MC. And so that was probably the most tedious task we've ever had.
In with the crazy, because what's crazy at the time, now it's more easier with technology, but at the time, so it's like Key uses ASR 10. I was using at the time I was using an MPC 2000. So two different machines. How do we lock it up? We can't MIDI it. So James is right. I was kind of like, that's a lot of work.
I was like, come on, Red.
Like it's easy. They're all pointing. It's like, yeah, it's easy. It's like,
what the hell?
And then we record most of the vocals. This is when Pro Tools started becoming affordable. So
nice.
So we were, we recorded, a lot, like either half at the Up Above Studios or half at my apartment. So, and at the time, at the Up Above Studios, we had Key was using ADATs. I just, and I just got Pro Tools. So that was another thing too. Is like transferring. You would have to bring the ADAT machines to my crib to drop the tracks. And I had to line the shit up. And at the time, I'm still learning how to use Pro Tools, how to MIDI all that shit. Or either that, I had to, or I'm trying to remember.
Brad ended up taking on.
Nah, not yet. The Vestax was later.
So the Vestax track recorder was in the bomb shelter. No, what we ended up doing was I ended up taking the ADAT machines when we were mixing down with Brad and Winslow at Recordio, which is a famous studio on the valley. It was a dope studio that we mixed the whole Pangea album there.
Yeah,
so
it was ironically, like to add to Key, it was a home studio. It was really, it's at a house. It was
The
literally a
whole
house.
house.
But the
Their
whole
house-
house
was a studio. So
with
and then
organs and like infinite amount of guitar, like
Wow.
everything, like
bedrooms,
there's some famous
bedrooms were also like there's either
I was gonna ask if those were like individual studios.
right. It was amazing. Like we even played stuff on the organ on Six Ring Circus. We wanted it to sound like a circus. They had this old organ in it, and I got in there, dun, 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 right? And he had all these percussion instruments. Anyway, so when we're in there, we started. That was when we actually really stitched it. Like we demoed it together, but we stitched it together there to try to make everything sound like a certain way that had a consistency between all of it. So. I mean, it was a lot of work. Rhett was like, this song is like literally a whole album's worth of beats. And I was like, yeah, man, that's what's going to blow people's wigs, especially back then. You know, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it's incredible. But at the time, it was like, man, that shit was a fucking nightmare. I'll say that.
Within the album.
Dude, it's like, because it's like, equipment-wise, like, now you can just drop and you can see the waves. But at the time, it's like making the beats. You had to separate the tracks. You had to, like, to make it full. I mean, like Key said, Brandon Winslow, who engineer, who also I met through Babs because he was mixing a lot of stuff for Babs and dilated shit. So like that's how I got. So you know what? If we're gonna mix, if we're gonna get it real tight. And then knows the shit. Let's go with this guy. So and then Brandon was like, like he says he actually know how to play some instruments, so he come and jump in and do some little stuff. But when we were making Meeting of the Minds, it because we were also on a deadline to us as well, so it was just like pressure, like just to come out how many beats, and then after we come on the beats, who goes to what? It came down like Key and I just said, okay. This beat, your beat goes with this guy. My beat goes with this guy. We obviously it interchanges and stuff like that. You can in some ways you can kind of tell whose beat is who and stuff like that. So I mean, and the way because also too like if you're really what do you call it a producer head, you kind of ways you couldn't, but you kind of tell. Which is like, oh, that was done in an SP, or this was done in an MP, or this was done in AR, ASR. ASR had like the good thing about the ASR 10, which is it's a keyboard sampler versus the MPC is the drum machine sampler. Mm-hmm. There's a little the ASR has more stuff on it. Not only more time, but it has effects on there already, built-in effects, whereas the MP did not. Right. You could chop on the ASR, but there was a certain way compared to the MP that you could you could tell the chops. The ASR when you do drums, they don't hit hard coming out the speakers compared to MP, but when you mix it down, it becomes hard. So there's certain things that you can kind of tell a little bit whatnot and shit like that. But that's just on some nerdy shit right there.
Nerdy shit. How did the album's title mirror what you guys had tried to accomplish coming together as individuals with all of your solo efforts and labels and your lives in general?
Well,
which album are you talking about?
Sorry, Pangea.
Pangea, right?
Oh man, well yeah, it was like I think we were on tour and it just like it. I remember thinking like. What was that concept where like all the continents were at one point together and just like again like on some super organic stuff just was like that's kind of like how we are, it's like we it's like a like we started as one, then we shifted man, like it just again that's like a lot of great stuff came out of tour rides, in the bus and just meetings and man, like, and that's what I love about these cats because they would just, they don't shut me down for shit or we don't shut each other down for anything. You could blurt out a crazy idea and it'll just expound and it'll just like, it'll blossom. And like, that's what's really dope about everybody is like, you know, it's really not like a egotistical thing, right? Like, it's just like, yo, and then boom, we trust each other. And then it's just this like, next thing you know, we got this idea and Pangea Steak. I think the hardest part about Pangea was like, how are we going to spell it? Are we going to have the A in there or are we going to leave that out? You know, and
I'm glad we left it in there. That's OG.
Yeah, we'll leave that joke aside. That's like some whole other stuff. But yeah, that was rad. That was a good time. And then to even have Mir One, you know, do the artwork with something else, like, you know, he gave Rhett Maddock an extra link on his pinky, even like that was hard. That was just yeah, that was amazing. That was a good experience. That to me is, I think, my personal favorite as far as albums go.
I think we were on the road in Europe. Actually, we were touring Europe. I think it was a Love Hip Hop tour when we were all in a band, and that idea had come up for the title. But I mean, honestly, like as Elemental was saying, like we've had to work through shit and get past. You know, like we've all. Now when we get together, like we could critique each other. We could like, I'll write that shit over. Like, but you know, like as you're growing and we all have egos. You know, obviously we all have pride, but like with each other, we know that the goal is for the better, the good of the whole. So I think when we were younger, I feel like yeah, there's times when we had arguments about stuff, and because of those arguments about whatever it be, artistically or theology or upbringing or just manners. I don't know, just so many differences. But I think that's the reason why. Like
he said, manners.
I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a polite ass guy. No, I'm just kidding. But
get the fuck out of here.
When you're all in a van together, spending time together, hungry, like. You know, some shows are great. Sometimes it's when you're on the road. Sometimes it's like being in a troop. Like you have to go through shit, stick through things. Then you deal with people critiquing you and criticizing you, and not when you're young. And when you're young and just like what like you have to learn how to react to it. And we could have easily there's times where we could have easily turned on each other for whatever reason.
Yeah,
why,
egos.
Right. Or why we aren't getting a certain amount of monetary compensation as what, as these other, you know what I mean? Like just so many things I could get to because personally, we're still trying to take care of ourselves and our families. And then artistically, we're trying to be as dope as we can be. And then when you're in the industry of trying to sell your music or market yourself, and you don't want to market yourself, so that you're trying to be humble and have humility and not just be the tongue-in-cheek talk shit rapper just to get attention or have your 5 minutes of fame or whatever. And so I think through all of that, like you can either break you apart or make you stronger, right? And I think Pangea was one of those moments where after our second record, right, we're like, damn, all these other guys took the major label deals. When we rejected them and did Sophomore Genius, we could have taken X deal with this major. All the other homies did, but we didn't. We're like, did we make the right decision? And then we got to the point where we made Pangea, and I think that strife and that experience of us going, no, we're sticking together through this because we could have gone that way and that way and that way, but we came back together. Like we never broke apart, but I'm saying we came back together like a fist to like try and make our point. I think that's why that record really embodies that because of where we were career-wise, life-wise, and knowing that we stuck together with this. So I guess we're stuck with each other, right? So I don't know.
And it was real quick, just to add on to what Key was saying is like Key was saying, we would, we'd be at each other's throats, like, and like iron sharpens iron, you know what I mean? And so like, but at the moment anybody like was like appearing to be against us, we we came together like, you know what I'm saying, so
Family,
fast.
that's family.
We could
That's
be
our
like
family.
at each other's throats, but then the moment somebody says something towards us, by, you know, even if it was towards like myself, everybody would, what? You know what I mean? So that, yeah, it's just like how we were saying earlier. It's like, it's unconditional, man. It's like, yeah, man.
Pangea, yeah, like Pangea was basically, so for me personally, my inside joke would say that Pangea was really our sophomore jinx, our second album, because you know, really, on sophomore jinx, I only did one beat, and then I did one beat with Key. That's it. I didn't really, at the time personally, I was not into it. You know, like I was going through personal shit like that. I was, you know, whatever. And then to add what James was saying about Pangea, you can tell there's I would say tension, but we were kind of like, I would say like the underdogs per se, you know.
We were the Clippers.
You know, so
no, stop, Key. Stop. We were always the Clippers of LA.
The thing was, the thing about
he hates that.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
It's true though. Don't even front.
The thing about Pangea was like it was like kind of like on a mission to like, okay, like Key says, a lot of our homies, a lot of our friends and associates were out getting major label deals or you know, like have a bigger platform. So this was on some like you know, like while we're, like James says, we might be kind of clashing, but we took that energy and put it to make the best album we can be. It was on some like, all right, let's you know, this is my, you know, this is our time to shine. Let's all put, you know, like this is the this is, for me, it was a redemption from sophomore jinx, because I didn't do no production, and this is where it's also like a transition to me, because I was doing the first two, like the Cosmonauts, the Galleries, and sophomore jinx. I was on the SP 1200, and I just got in the MP 2000, and from then I was on a mission personally, like just like, okay, I'm gonna make, you know, I don't rap, so I'm gonna make myself more known through the beats and scratches, and more in helping putting the album together and stuff. I mean, even, you know, like even with me and Key being the main producers, even Key and I were kind of like, you know, like we're butting heads on certain things and stuff like that. So that was another thing. Like really, Pangea was like a learning experience for all of us in putting this shit together. It was one of the most stressful shit, but it was probably one of the most best things that it can put energy into being one of the best albums that we in our catalogs.
I mean, I think that's what squeezed out Meeting the Minds too, right? Like it was kind of like, it was like oh, check this out, and it wasn't like, it was like a brotherly, like, oh, well, how about this? It's like when you're shooting a horse, right? Oh, damn, oh, you know what I mean? And it was like, it's never like, we're pushing each other to like try and come with some heat that would sound right over the MCs. So, you know, it was just one of those moments. It's iron sharpens iron type of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's that whole, like, not to be cliche, but that whole, what it doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially because I feel like throughout sophomore jinx, while we were in the process of creating that album, we were all going through shit. Like we were all going through all kinds of shit at the time, and the fact that we even came together and made something, to me, like after hearing Galleries, and Galleries was kind of all over the place, but at the same time, it was the perfect depiction of us, because we were just bringing ourselves together to, you know, we were just forming ourselves as a crew. So we were showing what we could do separately, but also what we could do together. And you got that with Galleries. You got all of these pieces that came together to make something, you know, but with Sophomore Jinx, to me, like that was, we fell in, and through all of the shit that we were all going through, we somehow came in and we made this very cohesive piece that was very cohesive, and we ourselves had formed where we were moving together. Like you don't hear just MCs coming in to drop our verses or whatever. Now you hear the crew with that, but also within that, we were trying to get this album together and get this album out because we were going through shit. And I remember I wasn't even like, I lived further away, so I was coming down when I could to just drop my verses, you know. So when that album came together, it was a surprise with how cohesive it was, but it was reflective of the shit we were going through and how it came together.
Yeah.
Pangea, we were like this. We'd already gone through all of this shit, and we were boom. We were like this, and it shows. Yeah. And it shows. We came out this poof. It was a wave. It was a tidal wave, and I couldn't say with fullness that it's my favorite because I got favorite songs on all of them. But the way that came together and the way that it was put out there and the way that we took that shit on the road and it was powerful. It was powerful. The words, everything within that album was just very powerful. And it was probably the biggest statement that could be made at the time, you know.
With that being said, to add on to what you're saying, Zen, is like, I think, so yeah, now in hindsight, I'm seeing like Galleries was like, you know, we've been living out loud from day one, you know, whether it be Key's first single, you know, Hell of a, like we've been living out loud, you know what I mean? But like at a certain point, I think it clicked, like when we're overseas now, like, so imagine you got these kids from Southern California that had probably, you know, no idea that we'd be in, you know, in Europe off some hip hop shit, you know, like we all came from humble beginnings on all levels. And then, so now we're like, you know, we'd pull up into towns we can't even pronounce. And it's like full signs of the visionary or the visionaries. Like, for instance, in Germany, right? The V is W. Right. Visionaries, and like people freaking out. And in our own hometown, no one knows who the fuck we are. It's like the illest, like humbling boost. You know, it's like, okay, we're already not on this egotistical drive, so this is perfect for us. So we were just fueling the fire, and we would have never been financially driven whatsoever. Again, as the youngest of the group, I had that luxury to be like late to the money game, as far, you know, because I could afford to couch surf for X amount of years, you know. Right. But the point being is like we've always given our all to the art, because I feel like in a certain way, Danu, Key, Rhett, Zen, Alex, like we really feel like more than hip hop owes us, we owe hip hop because it did so much for us, and it was father figure, you know, it was an auntie, it was our family, you know, and so for us to all collectively, you know, get on 15-hour flights and travel abroad and risk our lives, you know, to go rock these shows that sometimes the sound would be absolute shit, but we look at each other and it was like, oh my God, this is, again, we're having an out-of-body experience. We're on stage, but I could tell each and every one of us is kind of like, oh my God, this is unreal. Like in the moment, imagine just systematically doing your song. Boom, 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 boom. Everything's going wrong, but we're up there together, experiencing that together. So therefore, it's all good. It's all right. And that's just the most beautiful thing. And I think, as Tez was saying, that's what harnessed Pangea. And then that's when we knew, okay, boom. Then comes We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. And it was a wrap. Like, yeah, I can't wait to talk about that joint. But oh my
that's my next question.
Yo.
So your fourth album, We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For, dropped in 2006 and includes features from some of hip-hop's finest like Sadat X, Shortcut, Georgia and Muldrow. But my personal favorite is All Right. Rhett, I know you were Dilla's tour DJ in Europe on his last tour ever. Was this how the collaboration came about?
Big up to Dilla.
Yep, pretty
Big ups,
much.
big ups.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I already had his beat CDs. Like, Dilla, like, at the you know, like, he was like Madlib, like Otis. Like, if you're the homies, he'll give you the beat CDs to peep out and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously, these are the same beat CDs he was shopped to also to all the artists. But it's like, but if you get it, if you get a CD, it was like, that's like gold, it's treasure and shit like that.
Mhm.
So during, because before I left, left the tour and stuff, I asked them, "Is it cool to get some beats from you?" I mean, I don't, and I was being out front and said, "Look, we don't have the budget that you charge like Busta and De La and stuff." And he's just like, "I'm willing to work with you and stuff, especially because homie and the DJ for me." So the price that I'm not going to mention the price, but the price he charged us, I was shocked that what he was charging us. I mean, for us, it's still expensive, but what he originally would charge was like, holy shit! And it's like, let's.
Hey, real quick, had Fuck the Police already dropped, Key?
Yeah.
He
Fuck the
was
Police.
already, yeah. So
Fuck the
that was
Police.
also a connection there too. Like,
Yeah, Fuck the Police.
Well, go on.
Yeah, Fuck the Police came out right after 9/11.
Yeah, but Dilla didn't know about the Visionaries, so that's the thing.
right. No. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but,
no. Yeah.
but so no, I mean, because so the good thing about it, and I remember this too before. I got to let him to listen to like one of the demo of All Right before we switch up because the scratches used to be kind of in the middle, and he didn't get to hear when we put the scratches in the back, but he did hear the demo. So he got to listen to it before he passed away. So that was a good thing, But I'll say this. This is. Dilla's a real cool cat, but at the same time, you do not want to mess with. You don't want to fuck around with him and shit like that, or you don't want to get him pissed off and shit. It's one, and I had to, I kind of tell the story, but the guys never really heard this. They might have and stuff like that, and then it might be because also Key was also pressured from Doug because you were like, we need this, and this is like the time Dilla, when I was on the phone, beforehand before I talked to Dilla, they said, great, we need the multi tracks, we need this, we need that, we need it, whatever, whatnot. All right, I don't know, man. He's his studio's in Detroit and everything, he's bare minimum. So if you see the picture that is that you see around it in the living room, that's when he's like living with Common and stuff over in LA, mid city LA and stuff like that, or near off of Melrose and La Brea. And so I was talking. It was something. Yeah, man. It's like, hey, man. Hey, is it cool we can get these multi tracks? It's like, oh man, yeah, I'd like to, but you're gonna have to go off the CD, man. Everything's back home and shit. So to separate the tracks, just got it up the CD and stuff. Like, okay, is there like this? Hey, man, I don't like talking business over the phone. I'll shut up, Dilla. All right, my bad. And then Jay tells me this after, like, hey man, Dilla almost got mad at you. It's like, oh shit, what happened? It's like, because Dilla's when you hear him goes like, man, and I've heard this many times from him, like, man, your boy Red. I was like, oh.
When you say Jay, you mean J-Rock?
Yeah, J-Rock, yeah, shit like that. So, but other than that, he gave the thumbs up hearing at least the song before he passed away. I went to his house. Mama Yancy was there, and yeah, that's cool, man. Cool with it. So,
LMNO, what else did you want to talk about with that album?
Oh man, where do we start? I mean, that album, oh man, I mean, well, I remember getting a poem from like a cat that's been like at every show of ours for years, and he handed us this poem that basically had "We are the ones we've been waiting for." You know, I'm cutting a long story, making a long story short right now, and that was so inspirational because, like, you know, again after Pangea, and then day in day out, like we had the luxury of, we had an up above office, a recording studio, so it was like such a regiment, and when you just stop and just look around, it's like, damn, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Like, there's no label, there's no grandioso like festival, there's nothing. Like, there's so much within the six of us that could create so many great things. So we are the ones that we've been waiting for, and that resonated. This poem resonated so heavy with us, and that's why within the artwork, we have a bunch of friends and family, and I'm not afraid to say it, like, I'm a fan of great shit too. So we have fans that submitted pictures, and it's a part of the artwork to make the logo, because as a collective, they are us, we are them. And so it's no identity crisis when we go abroad, and we're going in like just south of the Caucasus Mountains. So imagine what the crowd looks like, and then you look up there and it's like us. Imagine at the bus stops, and imagine at the gas station, and it's us. But it's we are the ones we've been waiting for. This is the change, because the rest of the world doesn't move like this. We have such a harmony within us, and this is not on some ebony and but I love that song. Like, I love that song, like the concept, but it's bigger than black and white, and we have such a beautiful dynamic that that album, I feel like, again, like we never took the shock value rap. Like, I think our raps were shocking in the sense that, okay, for instance, over the Dilla track, we weren't talking about, the typical whatever, I love Guilty Simpson, but you'll never hear him talk about divorce, marriage, and, all within one track, the way we graced it, and trust me, that process, I know y'all remember this, like I was over there in tears, like I wanted that grimy Dilla beat, and I'll never forget, like Tumex and Key were like, nah, this is the one. And I'm like, oh my God, like there were so many smashers on that CD. Like,
yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, man, there was a couple I remember that I heard that
oh my gosh, that was gut wrenching. And the fact you only get 4 bars on a Dilla beat, it was like, oh, dude, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I quit.
The sacrifice you make.
challenge.
Sacrifice you make.
Oh, like,
Yeah, challenge.
Ill, but for me personally, I think We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For was that groove. We found that groove, and I couldn't think of a better way to enter a hiatus that we entered post We Are the Ones, and then now to have V fully produced by Rhetmatic is like the illest thing, and I was stubborn on that, even because I'm like, yo, Key makes amazing beats, but like, again, it came down to, let's let Rhett breathe on this and do his thing, which he absolutely did, to the utmost. Like, I'm so proud of Rhett. Like, I've known Rhett like a large portion of my life, and I couldn't be more proud of this man off of his contribution. And I'm just, man, like that album was amazing. We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. And again, like, to still be here, and I'm just excited for what's next, whatever it may be.
I think we all.
That poem, by the way, was a poem that was a Native American poem that was by the Hopi elders. that was that was passed on. And it's a lengthy poem, but it really addresses like the nations back then, how they were, you know, how they were coming together, but it represents like humanity as a people. And as we've stated many times throughout this, how organically we came together to represent this ourselves, you know, like we kind of represent almost every every nation in the world, in a sense, culturally, within the blood that we have running through our veins. You know, we pretty much blanket the world. And you know, we're here together doing this. And it was, and I have to say that when you said that All Right was your favorite, my daughter piped in to say that she's like, I told you. She tells me how this is that's her favorite song, and how her Uncle Rhett would play it sometimes, you know, because he would spin it sometimes when we would do the shows, but we never did it. It would just be something that he played, you know, during the warm-ups, during the checks or whatever. So she's heard it. That's her favorite too. So
Nice.
yeah, she says she knows that one by heart. Every single one of us, she knows, you know. And it's a song where we did touch on some things that I feel like it's natural for us to touch on, where when you hear other artists touching on things like that, it's because they're like, hey, we're gonna make a song and we're gonna talk about this. You know, we want to hear from you, going into your heart, where, you know, this is how we are. You know, we one of our biggest songs, our most popular songs, is If You Can't Say Love. And we got some hard hitting songs, you know, but this is the one that has the most hits on YouTube. You know, like, this is the song that we're known for. You know, big ups to J Rock. But you know,
it's mosh pits to that song. Don't even front, right? Like, stage mosh pits, people get knocked out to that song. Like,
yeah,
holy shit! Like,
yeah. Getting charged up on love and
it's a vibe. Yeah,
it is.
Thanks to
I don't know. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, but that album to me was one where I feel like we were like, I agree with Elemental in the sense of where we were sitting in our place. Like we came in and we knocked out lyrics. It wasn't like we had to think about, you know, it was we were who we are, and we stepped in and we did it, you know. And then it takes so much time off. I know you're gonna ask us about it, so I'm gonna wait and add that once you ask about it. But to take that much time off, and then come with what we have now is a blessing. I don't think I couldn't have even thought to ask for that type of adventure, you know, and still sound like what we do. And, you know, we still, after so many years, we just came in and, you know, Rhett gave us some love, and we came in and just did what we do, you know.
Well, you know,
like we didn't, like we never stopped.
I mean, people for that quote unquote hiatus and stuff, we never broke up. We still did shows together. We just never really recorded, you know. And I think it had it, you know, everything happened for a reason and stuff like that. So I mean, and honestly, it's probably the best thing, because like it to tell you the truth, when we started working on this album, this made us more closer, really. And it's obviously with more, not saying we weren't close and didn't have love for each other, but you know, like within any group of family, crewers, whatever or not, we all had our own internal struggles and stuff like that. But we're, as you can see, some of us have families and responsibilities and going through stuff like that, and we had to mature. I mean, not saying we weren't mature, but we had to really grow as people and really be understanding. Like they say, it's crazy because the rap game is a young man's sport, but we're not. We're not in the rap game. We're hip hop. And in all honesty, and they all, like I think we get better as time goes on and stuff. This is, so at this particular point right now, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, like right now at this moment, this is our best work up to date so far, because we still haven't made our best shit because we're still working. But what's cool about it now is that everything that we're doing now, we talk about being independent. Now we're really independent. We're not like, we don't have backings. This is the label right here. This is the street team right here. This is the promotions team right here. It's all us. This is the merch guys over here right now. So and that's cool, because it's like we're taking our own destiny. So it goes back to what even James LML is saying. We are the ones we're waiting for. It took us this while, but it's meant to be. We were right on time.
Right. So a couple of you have talked about it, but does anyone else want to talk a little bit about the time that you took off after the EST 1995 mixtape was released? All right.
That guy right there that's been sitting there in the green hat, that's just nodding.
Yeah, Danu, come on.
Away. He's nodding away. He didn't even have his mic on. Look at that.
Nanu.
Say something, yo. Speak.
I could say something. You got said everything else for me, man. No.
I mean,
I mean, the time after We Are the Ones, I mean, everyone went through a lot of things, right? But we still kept in contact. I think the beauty of all our albums is you could see the growth from Galleries to Sophomore Jinx to Pangea to We Are the Ones. And a lot of things happened in between. I mean, just like James said, he had his thing, and then 2Mix had his thing, and all of us had to handle life in our own separate ways, right? So I think that's what made us stronger to come back with this V. And that's why it is what it is, because even though Pangea is where we hit our stride, We Are the Ones, we're already together as a unit strong. V, I mean, it was like we were out of the studio so long and come back this strong. That just lets you know that we've always been in sync for a long time. It was just a matter of time. So yeah, I for one, like I want to say 2008. That's when I personally was like, you know what, I need to get a 9-to-5. I had to adjust. I had to like make that decision. Like, you know what, I'm not gonna ever let this art go, but I have to think about my family. And that whole mental struggle right there was like, I got to do this, and that was tough for me to go through that year, but I'm glad I did it, because, everyone has to pay the bills, right? You got to do what you got to do to pay the bills. And now we're with V, so it's fine. So for all you out there, thinking, I got to do this 100%. No, you don't. It has to be 100% in your heart. That's all. You still got to take care of your family and yourself. So, that
is 100% right.
Right.
That is 100%. If you're gonna do it 100%, then you're gonna do whatever you can to take care of yours and your family, and keep your art alive too. Because if you ain't paying your bills, and believe me, your art is suffering too. You might be able to be creative because you're suffering, but you don't have, you can't do nothing with it. So yeah, that's real.
Yeah, that's so well said. I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of artists have 9-to-5s or other streams of income to help support their craft. So you all were included in the lineup for the Abracadabs Music Festival in March of 2016. How long had it been since you had all performed on stage together?
I think we had, we had been doing shows before. Yeah, we had been doing shows, just big festivals or certain shows. Like we were being very picky about where we did shows. So but that was the the last show that we did right before Tumex got sick. So the significance of that show was just, yeah, we all rocked that show, and a little bit after that, it was when Alex got sick, and he was actually supposed to meet up with me, and Zen had a show in Pomona, and me and Danny came out, and Tumex was supposed to come, and when he didn't show up, we didn't know what happened, and it wasn't until like I had to like look at social media, like, wait, someone said he's in the hospital, and that's when we found out. So the Abracadabra show was like the significant. My only memory of that is hanging with everyone and seeing, you know, Rocka and Dilated, and hanging with those guys for a bit, and then soon after that, bam, that's when he got sick. So, and that also honestly was, you know, with T-Mex getting sick was also something that helped us realize that nothing is permanent. You know, like I think we all realize that, but as
Oh yeah.
you know, with that his situation happening and him going through what he went through, I think, you know, once again, it's these adverse situations that always make us closer, make us realize.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's pretty true for you know, anybody in life, right? Like when you go through something, if you don't come out of it with a different perspective, then you're just stuck. So, but if you can make it through it and approach it differently and learn from it, then that's when you evolve, right? And so it's every one of these moments, like the hiatus, the us not doing a record together. There was a lot of things that needed to be fixed because as you grow in life, right, personally, your relationships with the people with you, you can either grow together or grow apart. And so I'll give credit to Danny, man. Like Daniel was like the one that was like, let's just get together and just hit up a brewery. And besides us loving beer as much as we do, it was the point of just catching up on where we were in lives and what we're all going through. Because, you know, you get so caught up in trying to handle your own, you forget you have brothers that you have so many shared experiences with, so many. We're family. We're brothers. We're family. So it's like, it's hard. Like, when, you know, like for me, like when my grandmother passed or whatever, we don't have family get-togethers as much because, you know, you don't have Mother's Day, you don't have her birthday, you don't have, you know, and in certain things, like you don't see family members as much, and there's a disconnect. Well, with us, we were getting together for shows here and there, but we had to handle things in life, and people, you know, Daniel was like, we need to get together, and as once we started doing that, songs started coming together. Rhett started sending beats. We started doing stuff over my beats, Rhett's beats. It's just kind of like getting back out, you know, in the flow of things. And so, without those seeds being planted and rejuvenating and making sure your garden just doesn't run dry, like we started planting the seeds for this next crop, and it might have been a period in time where there's a long period of elapsed. But in the meantime, you know, still hanging with Tez and his daughter and my kids, and, you know, still hanging with James and seeing him, you know, still hanging with Danny, still me and Brett, like reconnecting on different things. And then even with Tumex getting sick, like I got closer to him over that period than I ever have been. So it's just, you know.
Yeah, we to add what Q said, we, you know, we were a group, but we had to reconnect again, you know, as you know, as like friends, as brothers and stuff like that. I'll not think about we need to do this, we need to do that. We all had to just reconnect with each other and then go from there.
But I'll take full blame for the we got to do this.
I'm pointing at you right now. That's all.
It's all right. It's all right.
That's the guy with the yellow shirt.
Someone had to do it.
No. If it wasn't, sometimes if it ain't for
that.
you, brother. If it ain't for you, brother, sometimes like Elemento is our angst. Like he's the he's,
No,
but you know, like for a brother like me who's very comfortable chilling, you know, like I need that sometimes. So you know, I feel like it's everybody has our energy that we contribute
Yeah, you all play a
to
role.
making this what it is, you know. And his fire sometimes is inspiring to me, because you know, what you doing, Danny? And yeah, like everybody has their I don't like the word role, because it's not like we step in and we assume responsibilities that aren't us. It's like we have our own energy, and we know who we are, and we also know each other, so we know what we can expect, what we can get from each other, but also what we can give and what we can provide. And you know, now that we know each other well, you know, we brothers from old now, you know, so it all comes in when it's supposed to, you know. And but it took us a while to get through that, you know. And as Rhett was saying, with reconnecting again, you know, Danu, Key, and I, we've always you know, with our families or whatever, we've always connected in one way or another. And I've seen Elemento, and I see Rhett, you know, when I come, because I'm usually not in Southern California, but when I come down there, like I always connect with you know, in one way. And I come out to Elemental shows, and you know, but the way that we were, you know, when we were making these albums in the past, we spent so much more time together, you know. And as life took us in these different directions, we had these moments to touch base, build. And you know, we've watched each other's kids grow. Our kids, you know, are like cousins, and you know, these are uncles, you know. This is my family right here, and I don't see them any differently, but family. You know, my kids are the same way. But to come back together and actually share and speak on things together as a collective, and channel that into music, and to make something together, was something that took all of this time, and what we experienced separately and together, to create this and make this as strong as it is. I wouldn't change shit, really, you know. I wouldn't, you know, because when I listen to it, like when I listen to this album now, there's verses that I hear that gets my heart like choked up, you know, where I can feel it, and I get kind of, I can feel like the energy and the emotion. And you know, these cats know me, man. You know, for me to be, you know, like, yeah, this is to come this far, and to feel that, you know, means a lot to me, you know, because I've always been a force of one way or another, you know. But this is the emotions that I feel with this carry throughout the years, throughout everything that we've been through, and everything, just to hear it, and it comes out. It comes out in in the things that we say, and the way that we express ourselves, the topics and the verses. And yeah, this one is this holds some sort of magic to me that I can't really put into words, you know. But yeah, Rhett just basically set the pace when he suggested that, you know, that he provide us with the beats, and everything else just kind of fell in. I mean, I wasn't even in the country a lot of the times that we were recording, and we would just come in and spend a day, or you know, spend the day writing, and hanging out. You know, our kids bring kids, and you know, just hang out and record. And yeah, we have a piece that I'm that I'm proud of, but it's not because of just the music. It's because of us. Like, I'm proud of us, and like just everything that we've been through to get us here right now, and we sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. A lot to be thankful for. You know.
That was Alex just called.
Oh,
2 minutes. Yeah, he's in the hospital right now. So
Mm.
he he's had issues with the stent in his arm, but it was infected, so they had to take him in the ER today to get it removed. So hopefully, I mean, he's hoping he could get it done and be okay to get out by tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen by tomorrow, but yeah, I mean, he just called. So, but yeah, I mean, he sounds good. He's like, I just had to come in. I'm glad he's taking care of it because it's pretty badly infected. So, right, but yeah, he said to say what's up, love y'all, and everything. Yeah, so got like yeah. He felt us talking, I think. Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, as long as he's in good spirits, man.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds good. He's just like, man, this shit in my
whenever
arm
he
is fucked
sounds
up.
good, I feel confident because that cat he's a strong cat, man.
He just has to have a procedure to get that out of his arm because it's been messed up. So, I mean, he's gonna have another surgery to put try and figure out another
treatment.
I guess catheter to put somewhere else.
No.
Right. So, but anyway, yeah. Sorry about taking a call during that.
Don't apologize. It's nice to
man.
know that he's in good spirits.
Yeah.
So how did the pandemic affect your plans to release V in 2020?
Well, we've been working on the album for a good 3 years, whatnot, off and on. When the pandemic hit, it was like how many songs you guys think? About 6 or 7 per se that we've done. By then, by before the pandemic per se, and then the pandemic is when let's no, I'd say we pretty much.
No, we're pretty much done.
We're pretty much done. It was during the pandemic when we started doing, like, we did the mixing, we did we started planning out the artwork. Obviously, we made a video during pandemic, which is kind of cool and stuff. But we pretty much, for the most part, we recorded everything. We were trying to finish it and hopefully have it out by the beginning of 2020, but it kept on moving back. Certain things happen. Things happen, and when the pandemic hit, is just like, okay, there's no, we have no, got nothing to do. Well, let's finish this. Let's get this right and mix it right and get the concept right and all that stuff. So let's get our business right too as well. So we're again, we have to we're establishing ourselves again as our own entity. Like, now we are like Visionaries Records, or I don't know what Visionary Crew, is it LLC or something like that?
Visionaries Crew Inc.
Or something like that.
Visionaries Crew Inc.
There you go.
Visionaries Records.
But yeah, well, what I'm saying, the thing is that we're all we
about working.
Well, that's for the digital. But I mean, we're getting a.
Sorry, it happens sometimes. Go, man.
Bad joke.
So, anyways, yeah, we're trying. We had to get our everything together. Just basically, yeah. And that's why this is what happens sometimes behind the scenes. Really, this is we don't get shit done. That's why this is why it took us so long.
Oh shit!
I get it. The first official music video from the album For All Along was ironically appropriate for what had begun to take place in this country. How quickly did that all come together?
That's
key. That's key
Zen.
in Zen, man.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they masterminded that joint.
It was just one of those situations where actually it was, well, once again in my screen it's, well, that guy right here, that guy James Elemental was like, yo man, we should just do a video for the song, you know, whatever. All along that came out, whatever, and so I was like, yeah man, like we could do whatever. But Zen then sends me a whole piece of stuff that he just started chopping, and then between the two of us, we're just like doing the whole grabbing stuff, and we're like, as the pandemic is rolling, and you know, we're like, oh shit, grabbing current events and clips and all that, and at the same time, you know, Alex was going through. I saw the going to the hospital, like Zen, like that first day we went to the hospital when Alex went in, and that they were like, if you want masks to wear in the lobby because of this thing that might be happening in Wuhan, like it was in you know, early January, so people in the hospital even were like, we don't know if it's real or not, but you can have a mask if you want, and they're handing it to you. You know, it was just this whole surreal experience, and then it started affecting us personally, like with my family and my brother-in-law. But with that being said, that all got rolled into this, you know, process of us chopping up a video that was just reflected of this, the time of, you know, we all feel better today a little bit because inauguration and all this, but the state of the world, like, damn, like we've been through a lot of shit. We've been through the 92 riots. We've been through like different situations, but never like so many just things constantly just seemingly environmentally
year long too.
Well, the craziest thing about to add to for the video, the song itself is old. It came.
Yes, I was just thinking that. Because
like, so the song was originally like made in 2008 or 9 or 10. Yeah. So so I put it out as a 45. You know.
We are visionaries.
You know, so it was a limited edition 45. I put it out. Like one side was Visionaries, one side was Crown Royal with both wine and stuff. So it was like kind of like just as a production, and it was cool because people were always asking, when are you going to put out a new song? So I was like, you know what, hey guys, rock over this beat, and you know, and it's a beat that I did with using Adrian Young's music and stuff like that. So, yeah. So fast forward, like Key said, James Elementals was like, man, let's make a video. We have a song, let's do it. And you know, like, and I thought about it, I was like, yeah, if we're gonna start working on a project, and at the time too, most of the guys, it was just mostly Key, Danny, James, and Zen were recording, and Alex wasn't really, you know, was in and out or whatever, whatnot. So there was not some of the demo songs. Now, I believe the beginning of demo songs, mostly Key they were recording on Key's beats, and I have, you know, I wasn't submitting beats at the time. I was, you know, so I was like, well, here, this is probably the only song that all of us is on it. So that kind of like in some ways kind of spark it and stuff. You know, and then once Key and Zen started making the video and they showed us the final product, it's like, okay, this is it. It's you know, this is we got nothing. We got to do it now. So that kind of like, you know, I mean, there's other things that sparked it, like with Danny and with James and stuff like that. But the video was like, we have to now really work on the album.
Well, Red, I remember that KBH show where were we? CPK, and he dropped it at the table, and I was like, the fuck, like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that, like, to even hear Rhett be so assertive about, I want to produce a whole Visionary album, and I'm so accustomed to like having J-Rock on it, obviously Key Cool, Babs, and you know, so forth and so forth. But the fact that Rhett was like so assertive, again, it's like the way I compute things is sometimes like I have a delay, like my Wi-Fi is not always connected. So I'm like, so, you know, my bars are low at that point. But trust me, like 4 or 5 days later, I'm like, yo, that's
That was the best
genius.
analogy I think I've ever heard
Right,
ever.
right.
Yo, that's genius. Yo,
I can
like,
see your bars.
like,
bro.
yeah. So I'm so grateful for that night because again, and Danu had drove up from Diego. Key came. Rhett came to DJ for me, which is like a rare thing as like an elemental set. And I had been in a process of a divorce. So like again, like, you know, super personal shit going on. And the fact that like I just kind of saw this like glimpse of hope as a whole, because like, man, like there's not too many people that I've known this long that I still function with, and that like, you know, my lady now is taking care of, you know, my baby, and she's pregnant, and you know, it's so anyway, I'm just engulfed with like with tremendous levels of love, and that night was like the beginning of like the light at the beginning of the tunnel, because I felt like I was at the end. Like there's no, you know, to me the beginning was like, yo, fuck that, we've already, like, I'm kind of like at my ends meet, you know, and so I want to tell you, Rhett, that night, as stubborn as I was, dude, like I really love you for like really, you know, sparking that. And I Danu, thank you, brother. Key, you know how I feel. Tez, you were there in spirit, and like I said, you know, Alex is always there, but he's not. But that particular night was really heavy, bro, because like again, is like, you
Drink of
know,
that.
you know, we're all the nucleus of the group. There's no one, you know what I'm saying? But like that meant a lot, man. And again, here we are, and just looking forward to what's next, you know, definitely.
So yeah, so that came first, and then the video, like that that particular incident that James said, that started off, but the video was kind of like legitimized it, like like, all
And
right.
big up to Ed OG.
And the song, All Along, Rhett, was originally released in 2016. So
Okay, so
yeah, so that was basically 1 year before that. So it's about a year old when we were like, yeah. So it's 2009. I was like, wait, that's a long ass time ago. But yeah, it was actually
that was what the
2016.
Crown Royal said on the thing when I looked it up.
well, that shoot, it's still a long time. That's like what,
I was gonna say maybe it feels
4
like
years
that.
ago.
yeah.
What? We're talking dog years.
Man.
Right. But yeah.
So, like Elemento mentioned, Rhett, you expertly handled the majority of the production and scratching duties on the record. Why did the group decide to include additional production from folks like Adrian Young and Slap Funk Dust?
That's me. That's just that's when I did the production. That's all. Like so, in the process of making the beats, I just, you know, so I known Adrian for quite a long time and stuff. So I gave him co-production credits because I sampled him. You know, that's basically, you know, and I was practically the first person to actually sample him before like Primo and you know, like whatever and
that shit, Rhett.
you know, my man J57 from Brown Bag All Stars, he also knows that because I was originally supposed to do something with them using Adrian's samples, but what happened was like when his group Venus Dawn, you know, I didn't know that was him. I didn't, you know, his music starts to go out, and by that time already he did music. He did the soundtrack for Black Dynamite. You know, right. I knew Adrian or AJ when, you know, like he was a dancer. He was a freestyle dancer that was and he was down with a group called DP Sounds, which is also a DJ group and stuff like that. So he played music. He was studying to be a lawyer. Yeah, so he was studying the lawyer. So I remember when he came to me, like when I was working at Fat Beats LA, he would bring me music that he was working on that eventually became. You know, I was tripping out. I was like, "You learned this?" He didn't know how to play. He didn't know. You know, he wasn't classically trained. He taught him all himself how to do all that music. And so most of the music that he showed me eventually became to be part of the soundtrack for Black Dynamite. Fast forward, he opened. He opened a record store. It's a record store hair salon with his wife. It's called Art Form Studios and stuff. And it opened up in little Tokyo and stuff, right? So I remember when I found out it was like his group was done. I was like, yo, that's your shit. I said, yeah, man. You know, I thought it's like, dude, I didn't know. So one time I went to visit him at the record shop and stuff. He says, yo, come out of here. He took me this ride. And he started playing me a lot of things and shit. It's like, yo, man, this shit sounds like you can sample shit. It's like, that's the kind of like I wanted, like people to sample. And then next you know, he gets a phone call, and then he tells me that RZA wants him to, RZA wants to work with them, and that kind of leads into him doing the project with Ghostface Killer. So like that. So, but he gave me all the music and stuff, and basically he's just like, use whatever I want. I made a lot of beats with it, but that particular all along beat was what the guys picked from it and stuff like that.
And I'll be honest, like that kind of like that and Memories Last and like joints like that, I'm all about that. Like the All Rights, If You Can't Say Love, the Love Hip Hops. I'm like, what the hell? Like I'm a huge fan of like Griselda and like real, I'm from the NWA tree, so I love that like real like just dirty dumb shit. And like that's what I love about all this is like you can help me filter out that mud and then make some real alkaline water and like make some real beautiful shit. And like I love these brothers, man, because like if it was up to me, our whole shit would be like all along Memories Last, and like, you know what I mean? And like it would just be the gutter junk with the positive message, you know what I mean? Like dark and light together, you know what I mean? So
that's what's with Adrian. And then for Slop, like I know Slop Funk does for quite a long time, So I'm kind of part of like, what do you call it? Not unofficial member of his Beat Fanatics crew and stuff like that. So he got me, like I've done Beat Society because of him and stuff like that. So I've actually done beats together and stuff like that. But I remember one time he just sent me a sample, whatever, and I was just like, oh shit, let me just work with this. So I mean, just on some love and shit. It's like, yo, it's only right that he gave me the sample. Like give him co-production, and then I had my man David. I can't even say his last name. He's French. He's Zeilerman, but he's known as DJ Goat. He helped me. So he helped me with the bass notes with Go Off, because I can't play. He was a musician himself. So I gave him credits because I went to his house. He helped me play. It's like, this is the notes you do. Boom, boom, boom. So I gave him credit because he helped me play the notes and shit like that. Just use these notes, and then from there, and I played. I did the bass line. So that I gave him credit for that. And then there's an interlude that you hear with Jazzy Jeff. So that particular beat, it was originally from a beat that I did at the Jazzy Jeff playlist with Kiefer, with a great jazz pianist and stuff. It's Stein Stone's Throw. So it was a song that I did with him, Amber Nevin from Moonchild, and DJ Manuel. So we did this in at the Jazzy Jeff playlist retreat. And what I did was like trying to figure out, looking for beats for interludes. I was like, you know what? Let me strip all this down. So the drum program I did, and he did the bass line. So I gave him the credits for the bass line and shit like that. Just to give love and shit. Because it's like, I mean, I did produce all of it, but there's certain things that just like, you know, hey, I need you to help me do this like that. You know, just
like you got the Dr. Dre on, doggy. Like, you know,
yeah, I mean, I got like basically,
Yes,
I
found it.
did. I mean,
you
I
produced
did
the whole joint.
So
You're a producer.
Well, I'm glad we all know that because I didn't realize that, but I love that you gave them that credit because I feel like a lot of co-producers like that don't get credit.
Yeah, Rhett is like, if it's nothing else to be said about him with his talent and skill, he's probably one of the most stand-up people in the industry. Like, he's in the industry. We're all kind of like, whatever. Oh, you like us? You know? Whereas Rhett, like, he's day in, day out in the industry. And, like, he's a real genuine... Yeah, that's why Jazzy Jeff, Premier, all these fools like really funk with him because he's a rare breed, man. And we're honored just to like on National DJ Day, I dare post it because day in, day out, he is our DJ. So I wouldn't even disrespect him on a National DJ Day. Like,
Wait,
get out
James.
of here.
James.
Like, he used to get mad at me. I had a show DJ at one point in time, and then like I had a falling out with that dude, and he'd be like, "Man, I'm your DJ." Like, motherfucker, where were you? But he's always been there. He's Red, I love you, dog. You're the man, dude.
Rhett, you have an emoji? What the heck, man?
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
The
And a
hell?
puppet.
Humble superstar.
Rhett has an emoji, dude. What the hell?
Yeah, he's
Emoji.
Tweetch.
Yeah, you know you made it when you got the emoji.
Word.
thanks,
Yeah,
Neil.
The reels.
No, thanks,
Oh,
James. No, you know, like at the end of the day, really, I love this shit. We all do. I mean, I you know, this is we breathe. Even if we have a 9-to-5 jobs, whatever. This is, you know, we love this. You know, I love this shit. This is therapeutic and stuff, like, you know. So, and in some ways too, like, you know, like as James says, I asserted myself because I want, you know, we're on our worst critic, and for me I wanted to prove myself. That was the most important thing, that I can do this and shit like that. So it was just like, you know, just to show that, you know, like to show the growth that what I've learned, what I've done, and stuff like that. And
Oh, Red, that's a great point because as a member of like the illest DJ crew, like I would imagine the pressure on him to be with all these elite DJs.
Right.
And they all make ill beats and they've all featured on our solo projects and this and that, as well as visionary projects. The pressure of Rhett to be like just not just a nice guy. You know what I mean? He is like legit the man. I respect that because he definitely showed out on the V, you know, like definitely like big you up, Rhett. Like for real. Like, yeah, you really put your left and right foot forward, dude. Like for real.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Much love, brother.
it. Thank you, Dad. Love you.
Yeah.
And speaking on elite DJ, shouts to my partner Neil Armstrong. That's another elite DJ right there. Shit.
Yeah,
You know?
big fan of Neil.
Yeah.
Where did the idea for the socially distanced video for Put It Together come from? I remember my boy who lives over in LA sent me the link to it, and I think I watched it like 6 times in a row.
Again, Key and Zen.
Well, Key. I mean, I feel like when we were in a moment where we were ready to put out something different and put out something else for the album, and we were in the state that we were in, ideas started to bounce around, and my head went towards a commercial that I had seen for oh man, I don't even remember who it was at the time, but it had all of these, these panels, and all of the people were talking. And when I saw it, I started thinking about, okay, this is something as an intro that we can have to this video. And I feel like, you know, it started to morph, but the original idea was to catch us all in our own places, putting something together. And that was, you know, to match the song. And we all chose these different things, some of them more noticeable than others, but what we're doing is we're putting something together. And as the situation in the world was what it was, I think the extra idea of, you know, we had no other choice but to film ourselves, you know. So I put a task to these brothers. Big up to these brothers, because they all came through. But I put a task like, yo, portrait, no, like, no, I want landscape, like, like, send me this, do this, send it to me. And it, man, it took a minute, you know, because life is what it is. Not just you, Element, like everybody, man, even me. And I was the one like, yo, send me your shit. But I was like, damn, I haven't got my own shit done yet, you know. So it was, you know, it was one of those moments. But once I got all of this content, and everybody came through and provided exactly, it took us a minute, me and Key, but we came up with from a lot of content, we came up with something that I'm very happy to watch, you know. Moreover, because I get the, you know, it's such a, it's so who we are, you know. It's so who we are. It wasn't like we had to put together anything. Like, this is what this is. That it was us. It was us. It was fun. It was fun. I had some moments. Big ups. I always give big ups to Key, because we definitely do work together to to put those out. But it was it took a while, but it was fun. It was fun to do, to see everybody's interpretations and ideas, because everybody's ideas were their own, and how they did it, you know. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like the idea was totally inspired by the state of the world, you know. I feel like even the one beforehand, like we spoke about all along, and you know, that was a song that we did before. We recorded it before. I don't know when it came out, but I know we recorded it before. And when we recorded the song, it was. I remember where I was living when I recorded the vocals, and just to hear our vocals now and be like, oh shit, like, no, this is enough, is like, when I was like, damn, like, no, this is now. And we went and pulled. It was so easy to pull and find content that supported that, because it's just what's going on in the world, you know. And we came with 2 videos, one where we, you know, took a lot of our own stock footage and some, you know, stock footage of what was going on, and put it together. And but both of them were kind of the same. And then the other was more personal, but it was still in its own way a timestamp. You know, when you watch Put It Together video years from now, you'll know what was going on. You know, you'll remember the time, but you'll also get to see us, who we are, and with our family. You know, like it's a special video because of that, really. really, and everybody's effort, because it took all of us to do our own parts to make it what it was, what it is, because it's still out there.
Yeah.
I remember during the course of making that video, there was a few things that we had to do right. So when I first recorded, first time I recorded, I was wearing a sweater, so it was cold. But when we had to redo stuff, it already started getting warm in San Diego, and I was like, "Damn, I gotta wear that sweater." I was sweating. I was trying not to show that I was sweating, trying to be cool with it on. Anyway, that was just one.
I bet you they use that video when they teach about this in whatever classes in the future. I bet you that they use that.
Right?
Ill. That's ill. Yo.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was fun to make.
So the series of Visionaries, #Visionaries takeover posts on Instagram from different members of the crew were very honest and even personal at times. What inspired you to share these stories?
Yo, straight up, my lady said that that like, yo, y'all should like really be transparent, because we've always been a group that has this like particular message that is just like kind of like, once the song goes by, you're like, these guys are living, they got the best lives, and they're, talking about basically hippies and shit. But my lady really, shut that down, was like, yo, that would be amazing if you guys really came with some transparency, and because we've never, we're transparent with our ideals and like what we want for the world. Again, as like as hip hop being a family figure in our lives, we've always been conscious of like, because to me, like super uber gangster rap is conscious rap. I don't care what no one says. Like that's a particular environment. Like that's
Everyone's conscious.
it,
Yeah.
right? So everyone, so it's not that we're the conscious. So anywho, so to pitch that transparency was the most beautiful thing, and it really came off perfect, and so I attribute my lady to that, and obviously every member, fulfilling that, and like really doing it a just due, because it's not like we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, like what do we do next, what would we do next? But the fact, again, it's like, we're a village, man. We're definitely a village, and that attribute was really big for us, and I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the closing track, Father's Day, highlights the dads in the group and how fatherhood has changed you. In the more than 20 years since the release of your first album, how do you feel you have evolved as individuals and a group while staying true to the classic Visionary sound we've all known, grown to love and respect?
That's a heavy question. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Wow.
I didn't even want to do that song because, like I said earlier, I was going through a divorce personally. So when I heard everybody's verse, especially Danu's verse, I fucking cried. I straight cried, because it's like, like it's, to me, Danu has always been that dude in the group. What was that one off of Pangea? D, help me out. Where you talking about his mother?
Timeline.
Oh my God. Danu has made these songs, like these verses, that is just like, I'm like Eeyore coming in the studio like, hey guys, just sad and shit. And then like Danu just fucking to me, he's like the illest, like in that sense, you know what I mean? So I definitely, to me, on some, no pun intended, but on some timeline shit, when it got to Danu's verse, I was like, oh, I can't not be on this song. But like I said, I was on some personal shit. I didn't know how to leave a message to my children at the time, because here I am separating myself from the household, to make their life better, because the day-to-day turmoil was not like that. That was just, it was fucked up. So to like hear, Key's verse, Tez's verse, And then when I heard Danny's, I was like, oh, I'm being a fucking pansy. I need to just like straighten my back out and write a note to my children at the time. And I'm blessed.
You knocked
I
it out
got
of the
enough
park.
babies in the crew, you know. Like I got a beautiful daughter that's about to turn 2. Got one that's dropping any day now. Like, and so I couldn't be more proud than to be a father. And that song is a super meaningful song. And like, yeah, I love that song, man. I love
That's
that
everything.
song. And the fact I'm not crying right now is how much I know I love that song.
It's crazy,
I'm a straight cry,
dude.
baby.
Like that song evolved, brother, because
Nope.
so this is a beat that Rhett gave us where I wasn't thinking to write anything to it at all. It was a beat because I was always traveling, and I was going to Spain, and I was in Mexico. I was traveling around, so this was a beat that I was listening to in my headphones that I was just kind of freestyling to, and I wasn't really thinking of writing. It was I just loved the beat itself, so I wasn't thinking of writing anything. So I when I just finally sat down and I wrote some lyrics to it, and the lyrics that I wrote were in the sense of me talking to myself and what talking to myself and looking at myself in the mirror, but also looking at the world and what I could possibly pass on or show to my children. And it wasn't really like it was a lot of things all in this verse. And when I was writing the chorus, like couldn't figure out a chorus, and my daughter was sitting. My daughter Trinity was had her own melody, playing a video game, and humming this melody. And while I'm getting through this verse and just I'm hearing this melody, and I keep hearing this melody. I'm like, yo, hold on. What are you doing? What are you doing? And she's like, shut up on me right quick. And I was like, no, do that. And she did it. And I was like, you're gonna, that's it. Like, that's the chorus. And she was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And when we got there, it just, and I think I don't even think we were planning on doing that song, and we just ended up like loading it up because I had a verse, and we just ended up loading it up, and we got Trinity in there to lace the chorus.
Like,
yeah,
just test the mic out real quick.
Yeah.
See how it sounds. Record. Just do it again one more time. Record. Wait,
okay, do this.
And notice she left the room too, Tez. I saw that. She was like, "Oh, they're talking about."
Yeah, she did, but she came back. She came back. She's back now. She's back. She's catching all of this right now. She's there. There she is. But,
Hey.
but she once she laced the chorus, then I feel like that's when it became like this song. And now, because for a minute, because once Key dropped his verse and I heard his verse, and then when Danny dropped his verse, I was like, Danny got me teary-eyed when I was out, because I was like, man, if I was going to write a song specifically to talk to my kids, this is what I would say, and this is not where I was going. So I wanted to rewrite my own shit. I was ready to just like, yo, I need to redo it, but
we said no.
Yes, they did,
because you said it all.
And so did my daughter, who. Yeah, so I was like, okay, we're gonna leave it as it is, but I feel like the progression of the verses from Key to Elemental to Danny just knocking it completely out of the park, and then with both of our children, because his daughter Kaya is also on the chorus too. So we have Trinity, my daughter Trinity, and his Danu's daughter Kaya on the chorus. So that just brings it all around, and then Rhett can top it off.
And Kaya was at our place staying with us because Danny and Talia, they were moving, so she came up to stay with us when Trinity was over. So the kids were having a kid play day while we were recording. Then Kaya hears, Trini singing, saying, "I want to get on." So she sang a harm to it, and then and Kingsley was actually mad that he didn't jump on. I'm like, well, you're not, whatever. But and then Sam and Keen, like my kids, I'm like, no, man, you're not just jumping on just to jump on, like So anyway, when we took it down to, so we took Kaya home the next day down to San Diego when it was just me and Tez's vocals and Kaya and Trini on it. Then we played. We're just gonna drop Kaya off, but we ended up staying over, right, Danny? We ended up drinking some beers, smoking some, and sitting in the car listening to it with Talia and Kathy, and then Danny just, Danny and James just come with their verses after that. Like we just,
No, I remember I was like, I'm not gonna rap on this song.
Danny comes up with that verse, and it's just like,
dude.
Yeah, and then when James was like, "I'm not getting on it," I was like, "I get it," but I was kind of like, I didn't want to argue with you, but I was just like, "Man, you're a dad too." And then, like a week and a half later, or whatever it was, he's like, "I gotta get on this. I got four, I got two,
James,
3 kids, two with one on the way, and we didn't even know that one was on the way, right, at the time. Now, right, it was pre that. So it was like,
No, Danu, like when the first time when I heard what's that Ghostface verse where he's like, "Bitch, give me your jack," and he's like, yo, this is the hardest verse in hip hop history. Danu's got like his verse to me is harder than that. Like I'm not even playing it. Danu's the humblest rapper. Like he doesn't even want to be a rapper MC guy. Like I low key like hate you because of that. But like I love you, obviously. But like his verse, when I heard that, like I can't not cry because of that verse. Like, and I'm man enough to say that. Like I just
man. I told you, dude. Like, that verse is my favorite verse,
dude. The Illicano, man. Like goddamn, and like to me, that's the strength of our group. You know what I mean? Is like the fact that like our, you got Tumex that is like, rah, he's the dungeon dragon in everyone's face and like trying to get that fame and all that. Like bless his heart, but like we got the illest fool right here that is just like the best kept. I don't even want to call him a secret because anyone who knows us is like, yo, Danu is just like, he's a sweetheart. He's a fucking savage. He'll choke you out. He'll he's he's the shit. And like, that's our dynamic. You know what I mean?
He's the poet out of our,
like,
he's the real poet. Like, we're lyricists, but he's the poet. So.
And then to top it off, after we finish laying everything,
he put his hood up. Like what? You better.
You better go get your you need to go get your face tattoo. So you just got that one little heart.
You gotta put Loopy on his face.
Stay hard.
So then we make the song and we decide, let's just call it Father's Day, right? And that's like, you're calling it what? We're like, yeah, Father's Day, because we're all like talking about fatherhood and stuff. And then Brett just like blows us away with the information he gives about like the production and so Brett is like, Brett,
I was like, Rich really.
Wait, what information? I don't even know what he's talking about.
No, so when we decided to call it Father's Day, it was just something, yeah.
So when the guys, he told me that they named the song Father's Day. This beat, this particular beat, I made in 2009. In August, give or take, July or August, in the hospital with my dad. So my dad passed away September 25th, 2009. So so he passed away of leukemia, and basically while I would take the night shift to be with my dad. So while he's resting or whatever, I was making a beat next to him. And the irony of this
music,
the the irony of the beat, originally, believe it or not, Raz wanted to use it for Soul and Ice on Soul and Ice 2.
Get out of here, Raz.
You know, but he never, you know, he never got it. And then, you know, but then, you know, I had this beat for a while. So when we started working on the music, I started getting beats. You know, like I said, you know what? Because they were saying like, give us a Visionaries beat. It's like, I don't know what a Visionary beat, but here, just take it, write to it, whatever. And when they picked that beat, they didn't know how old that beat was. You know, so that was I made that beat in 2009. And then the irony of it, when they told me it was they're naming Father's Day, that's when I told the story. It's like, yo, that's crazy that you call it Father's Day. I made this beat, you know, next to my dad, you know, like a month or 2 months before he passed away in the hospital and stuff like that. So that's like, I was like, you know, I'm not a dad, but that was my connection to him for Father's Day. So it's kind of it's surreal you know, how it came about and stuff. So you know, just even thinking, you know, just kind of thinking about it too, just, you know, kind of put a tears in my eye, you know, just because I exactly remember what I was doing in the hospital while he was, you know, asleep. You know, like it's ingrained in my memory. So it's like, it's crazy to just the full impact of how the song came about and how they call it Father's Day. They picked that particular beat to call Father's Day. So, and for me, I may not have dad, but this reminds me of my, you know, it's you know, so
you fathered the beat, homie. Yeah, for sure.
So
that was meant to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've talked about it a bunch, and it's been in the screen a lot. Tell me about the beer collaboration and resulting West Coast Finest IPA beer tape.
That's a good. Well, two stories too, because like the guys reached out to the guys from Hip Hop Craft reached out to Elemental separately, and they also reached out to me. So, and I didn't know that they reached out to Elemental. You know, out of everyone, I'm the least beer drinker. Did these guys just leave to get some beer?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, the homie Daniel hit me up, and we were in the process of making the album, and he hit me up to do like an Elemental beer, and I just definitely was like, well, I mean, we got a Visionary album coming, and on top of that, there's the beer tape concept, and so it was like it'd be perfect timing if we parlayed it to the Visionary project. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer, as you know, not some sacrificial lamb, nothing like that. Like, you know, what I've learned is like, if you execute properly, things can elongate, you know, versus like if I went for self, you know, if I made an Elemental beer in the midst of dropping the Visionary album, how does that look? You know what I mean? So to me, it was only right to be like, hey, man. And like Rhett said, you know, he simultaneously was getting hit up to do, you know, and it's funny because we kind of had a little thing. I was like, Rhett, slow down, dog. Like, I'm telling you, I told them, let's do a Visionary.
Well, we didn't know at the you know, he didn't know, I didn't know that he was talking to them, and they, you know, whatever, because they approached me to do a beer, or, you know, they were doing some things and stuff, and I brought up the idea saying like, hey man, why don't we just do it? We're working on a new Visionaries album. So once it got connected, you know, as the saying goes, the rest is history. So, you know, shouts to Hip Hop Craft, shouts to Beer Tape, Beer Thug, to Proper Glassware. Who else am I missing, Key?
Cervecería Mundial, Chelas Mundial.
Yeah. So, you know, God bless those guys, man. You know, so to work with us, Boomtown Brewery. So, I mean, and then, you know, some of the guys are, you know, they're hip hop heads. They're hip hop heads. They're hip hop heads. Yeah. So it was cool. It was cool to.
Put this. Hey, put your joint on mute, homie. Orderly. Yeah.
You just called her out.
Right.
I was like, is he gonna get on Trinity while we're in the middle of it?
Of course.
So basically, everything worked out. Like I said, the irony is like I'm the least beer drinker out of the crew. Well, I don't know. Does Alex drink beer? I forgot. I don't know.
You should.
He shouldn't. But
Yeah.
it worked out because I mean, Danu and Elemental, and Key and Zen, they all, like when we first started hanging out again, this is just we connect on some, not even doing shows, just like we all met at a brewery, like drinking
Big up
beer.
the Artifacts, San Clemente.
So, I mean, I was like, shoot, I'll drink beer just to hang out and stuff. And I don't drink beer. I drink, I used to drink Henny and pineapple back in the days and stuff. Then I drink.
Damn, slow down, killer.
Yeah. So. But
You sure you don't have any babies, dog?
So anyways, so I mean, everything worked out, and how it was cool, the concepts and stuff, and the fact that we made a music video, a song to it,
Yeah.
So big ups to all of them, man. They're great people to work with and stuff. So I see that I see Elemental put in the re-release of IPA.
Oh man, that's a no-brainer. Like, come on, man, you're slipping. That's a no-brainer.
I don't know. Who knows? We can't make that
Somebody
decision.
agrees with him. How come I can't comment? I have to sign in.
You have to go on Twitch. You have to do it on Twitch.
Twitch.
Twitch. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. So that's pretty much how it came about in terms of us doing the IPA thing. So,
and big up to St. Ides. Ultimately, that's the grassroots of like having the illest beer commercials on earth. So like when we collectively were like, hey, to promote this joint, we should pull from that tree and do like a killer song. Like, it was kind of a no-brainer because we've always like, if the homies get a job at Power 106 or 92.3 The Beat, like if they had a major avenue and they needed a dope ass song drop, we always hit them with like the ill shit. Like even if like, Karis One would have a record within that, there'd be requests for this visionary drop. And even if it was like just Key and I and Rhett, it's still always been titled as like a visionary drop. And that's something we've always been conscious of, is like the branding. And it's like, yo, like, I mean, I got 20 plus solo albums, but to me, the main thing is like the visionary household. And like, and that's why for me, like finding the strength in Danu, finding the strength in Zen, finding the strength in Key Cool, finding the strength in Rhett, finding the strength in Tumex and myself is an attribute to how strong our whole house is. You know what I mean? And because again, back to the Pangea concept, is like, regardless of if we started as one, it's like we're all strong individually, but as a collective, it's fierce. So the beer being an 8.5, that's a fierce ass, suds. It's a can of suds that will put you on your ass. But, man, it's the next joint is definitely going to be like a Pilsner.
Just like we're going to be Clipper fans.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, seasons change, homie.
Not for the Clippers.
I don't even drink Pilsner. I would be curious though.
LA sippers.
Sippers.
It's got a ring to it. That could be an event though.
Yeah, we got a beer event that we're gonna one day host, and it's gonna be like the biggest beer hip hop event ever.
Bam.
Mark my words.
All right.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Here.
That's right.
So So at the end of 2020, when we all learned of Doom's passing, you shared a memory from 2004 of seeing him perform a full show soundcheck sans mask and to share the stage with him later that night. What did his position in the hip hop community mean to you then? Has it changed?
Man, Peach Fuzz.
Yeah, for me,
AMD,
like,
I mean, it started from there. Even to be able to reinvent yourself over and over again was like the illest thing to witness. I'm not gonna front and act like, you know, like I was texting him or phone calling him or anything of that matter.
Yeah.
Like, but again, back to being a fan, that was the illest shit to like see someone reinvent himself, and with one of the illest living producers on earth, Madlib. Because to be honest, like the whole the food, you know, the stuff he did prior to Mad Villainy, I kind of, you know, it just kind of skipped through it. You know what I mean? I much rather hear Supreme Clientele, or I much rather hear something a little more polished, you know. But by the time he got the Otis or Madlib, it was on and cracking. So I'm, you know, I think I'm more mad when people pass and they don't do shit with their life. You know what I mean? Whereas like he definitely, and you know, at this point it's cliche, but the fact he passed in the year of mandatory mask wearing, the mask villain, Pat, you know, it's the perfect end. And even if he's low key like on an island somewhere with Tupac, that would be ill. Like I would rock with that even more, you know. So I'm all about the mystery. You know, I love transparency as well. But yeah, big up to MF Doom, his whole family. Yeah, bless his soul, man, for sure.
Nobody wants to talk.
My last question, as 6 men of different ethnic and religious backgrounds, how did racial tensions that plagued 2020 affect you both as individuals as well as a cohesive unit?
Oh man, I never felt like more of a cracker than 2020. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, it didn't even fade us. Like that shit, if anything, it was like, man, we're so like ahead of this shit. Like the world is trapped. Like yeah, no.
I think
We stayed solid through the whole thing.
If anything, this is indicative of why we exist.
Yeah, I think it helped bring us even more clarity of like, I think I don't know. I mean, to reflect on the meaning of what we are. Like we've always said, oh yeah, how? I mean, we've had a long time together, 25 years, right? As an official crew, as of 2020. But 2020, like we always say, oh, 2020 is the year. It's the year of clarity, the year everything's gonna, and everything came out in the open. It was clear as day of what people were really about and what we were really about within all of that. And what we're really about is this. And so I think I felt strong. Like I felt like, damn, this is like we're the vision of what works is making effort, humility, but still having pride in who you are, but having respect and being having an experience of everything that you've experienced be a part of you and not just where you're from or where you're at, but what you are and what you will be from that. You know what I mean? And so it's constant. It's a work in progress. And those that get stuck in that one phase and can't get past that, it's because they're trying to grasp onto something that's not changing, where the world is always changing, right? And so with that being said, like as ill as everything was, I felt more strong than grandma. More strong than anything. This as a 2020, it felt empowering. Like it felt like, damn, like now it's clear cut, giving us the meaning of why we've banged so hard and gone through all this, not just for the art, not just for the whatever, it's for the everything. You know, like it just I felt like it let us know, damn, this is why we're here. You know what I mean?
We're on to something, fellas.
I think
You should do
make
something with this. Yeah, you should do something with this.
Racial unity is the lick.
Kumbaya.
Right? Hakuna
And
Matata and all that shit. I don't know, man. It's interesting how how in if you get a small community of people, for real, you can get a small community of people anywhere, and they can be from all walks of life, and they can be all different types of preferences. And now we got pronouns and shit. What the fuck is that? Anyway, you know, there's like there's so many different ways that we can be as beings here. And if you get a small community of people, this small community of people will find a way to coexist. And they will coexist and they will build. And it's interesting how we got 7 billion people on this planet. And the more people you have, the less chances we have of this shit happening. You know, and this is what I see every day, is how the masses have not caught on to something that they would naturally do if you just take and sequester 15 of them, you know. And it's saddening at some points, but I feel like a lot of the shit that's happening right now are things that need to happen. It sucks, but as parents, you know, parents and children, shit, it's children, yo. We got parents, but you know, like sometimes we got to go through shit. We got to get put on punishment. Shit has to happen to us before we start to really really get fucking fed up and tired and really start putting our best foot forward to make some fucking changes. Yeah. And unfortunately for a lot of hard-headed ass people, it takes fear. And our biggest fear is the fear of death. And we got people, you know, dying, you know, so many people are skipping out on us, and the world is caught up in that right now, you know, and we had 4 years of a circus right here in the United States, where we're, you know, like we see ourselves coming out of this, you know, which to me it's all a circus, but we don't get on that. Right. Anyway, you know, like these are, you know, these are all the movements that are being made. And I won't say put into place, but these are all things that are necessary for us to get to where we actually see ourselves, because we all do see ourselves as a unit. We do feel it, you know. I think our reactions and our own egos keep us separate because we still have fear, you know. We still got a lot of fear that we got to deal with. So it keeps us separate, but in our hearts, we all feel connected right now. You know, where we are in this day and times, man. You could ask the dumbest motherfucker. Sorry for my French, but you know, you get them in a moment, and they'll be like, "Yo, I feel." Yeah, you get them in a moment, and they feel connected. We all do. You know, it's all the other shit, the fears and subconscious shit that we've been dealing with for, you know, past through our ancestry, everything. It's a lot we're dealing with right now in these day and times, and it's all coming out because it has to, you know. It's like it's all coming out through the pores now. So it's and then we got technology, everything is just all being exposed to us because we got to deal with it, you know. And I think as a crew, we've dealt with our own inner shit, you know, maybe past lives, whatever, you know, to come to where we are now, to be in a sense ahead of that, you know. But it don't mean that we don't feel it. Like I see that shit every day, and I get a little sad because I feel like I've been talking about this shit for 20 something years, you know. And so who am I talking to, you know? But the select few that listen to our music, or you know, the select few that are paying attention to the frequency that we reach, you know. But there's a whole world out there that's tuned into other things, and we got to let that world do what it's doing so that it can get through. But I feel like for me, the only thing that's affected me is seeing how much it's affected people that are close to me.
Right.
that I can't say anything or lend a heart or any of what I know or the frequency that I hold within me, because all I can do is just hold my own frequency and hold what I know and hold what I feel and live and walk. And I feel like that in itself can be challenging when you're surrounded in a world of people who are fearful of a lot of things that are right there in front of your face and very, very justifiably fearful. Things to be fearful of. So, other than that, I feel like these are my brothers, and I've never felt closer to these cats. You know, in our distance. In our distance, we still talk every Thursday. We got our Thursday meetings where we chop it up on our Thursdays, and Key and I build quite often on the things that we're doing, and I'm sure that Key builds with all of us and one another. So we're moving forward on many levels, not just with the creativity, but keeping a hold of ourselves on the ground and taking care of business things. And we've been moving in a way that the world is not quite necessarily reflective of, but I'm glad that we have been, and we've been holding the strength and staying on frequency through all of this. But because it does I think it holds its challenges just to kind of walk out into the world when there's a certain vibration, and you're not quite of that, but you got to navigate and you got to move through it and you got to live your life, and you can't separate yourself because it is in a way a part of you and something that you may have experienced at one point. But so it's there's adjustments. I feel like there's adjustments, but I don't feel like we lost our what we are. I feel like this is just let us know how much we need to be who we are and how much we need to stay who we are. These are the reminders. This is the inspiration to be like, whoa, shit.
I like to add, like, for me anyway, mentally, and for us, I could speak for all of us. Like, mentally, the whole racial tension didn't affect us mentally, because we've all experienced this, including what I'm saying, like Alex, if he was here, he would say too, all of us in our younger years experienced this. And so this is nothing that didn't affect us at all. It's nothing new. We've already known about this. We've spoke about it so much in our music. Emotionally affected us because we lost people. Emotionally affected us because I worked for healthcare, so I was in it and I haven't stopped. So emotionally, it affected us. That in that sense, it did change, because it affected us a lot with knowing people that passed away or are still sick or getting sick. Even now going through this vaccine, like, people are like, that's still affecting everyone right now. But yeah, I mean, we went through. We're still here, and this is why we're here. We're trying to help ourselves and everyone through our music get through this. So, I mean, we're our own, almost. We're this music is for us personally and for people that are our fans to get through what we're going through right now. So, yeah, that's pretty much. It has affected us, but we're getting through it with everyone, riding with us. So.
Right. I'd like to think we affect it more so than it affects us, because, like, for years we've been on the road carrying our own circus within the circus, and so it's kind of like a big like, we're a counterculture to, like, separatism, and that's kind of what the world is. And so, like, back to the whole Pangea joint is like, dog, like, we're all one. And, like, like, yes, we have different ideals. We've been raised on, old ideologies and whatnot. Like, in the picture I showed you is, like, of my grandmother, and you know, so we've been blessed to like have a great upbringing, one, and a challenging upbringing from our different locations and different plights and different everything. And that's the beauty of us, is we accept our differences versus like how the rest of the world is so, oh no, you know, they're scared of the difference. Whereas like, you know, we'll throw that shit in your face bare naked, you know, like kind of like that Red Hot Chili Peppers cover where they were just wearing socks. That's like that's how we represent. That just came to mind real quick. I'm like, that's
our
us.
next album cover.
Yeah, like rock 'em, sock 'em. That's it.
I mean, remember, guys, remember what, remember when we traveled right after 9/11, and if I'm not mistaken, we went to Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, remember what all the countries were like, their same reaction was, you know, like they didn't think that we felt the same way as they were about what was going on. And they're like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every country we went to, they were like, really? You know, and we stuck out like a sore thumb because not only are we
Hell
all
yeah.
cultural, but we all spoke English. You know, that's it.
And we were getting targeted by the German.
Big,
Policia.
big time. They were on it. Mhm.
We got targeted so bad like that.
So many countries. Yeah.
When you have to face straight up people that don't want to see you,
Mm-hmm.
oh man,
We saw
that
that.
was bad. That was bad.
Word.
That was actually one of those. Damn, are we gonna make it out
It was
of the
intense.
moments?
Like
It
we
was
almost
intense.
missed the South.
Right. Right.
Germany will make you miss the South real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
But it was intense. As intense as it was, though, it showed how, like, we had some moments, especially me. But it showed how whatever the fuck we're doing, like we were being carried, you know? Like
Oh, yeah.
we got through some shit where we're like, whoa, hold up, okay. But man, we've and not to you know, never to take it for granted, and and to speak on it, to be grateful, and you know, like we've had some moments where we had to deal with some really adverse shit, weird shit like that, you know, especially on the road and overseas, where, you know, shit, I remember being in Chicago, and you know, in places even in our own United States, where people looked at us and was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? So, you know, to be overseas somewhere where they totally didn't understand us, and just to be, you know, targeted in certain situations, but to deal with it and to get through it, and you know, and we're telling the stories without having any crazy shit pop off, you know, was to me always, you know, gave me a little comfort in the heart to know that what we're doing is more important, you know, than the bullshit. You know, we go through it, but we you know, we get through it. You know, we've had some crazy moments traveling over some borders, but it's they all have worked out in some way or another.
Shit,
You know?
even states. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember in Kansas?
Oh man.
Walked into that bar. We're like, whoa.
Yeah, we've been some places. You know, and you see us at first, and you see all of you like, whoa, hey. You know,
They
you don't know.
automatically tell them I'm like the road manager or like the undercover cop.
You're like, what the fuck? Missoula. When we were in Missoula, yo, that was the craziest reaction I'd ever got. I had never seen people like stare at us wide eyed. When we got to Missoula, Montana, people were looking at us like, yo. And we had the natives. The natives. Remember, I got hung up with the man, and I told the cat that I was from LA.
Remember Key, the Blackfoot
And the
Indian?
questions he asked were the craziest. Like, so what's it like being black and LA? Like, it was like we got into places where, you know, I don't think people travel out of the little towns that we got a chance to visit, you know, and we come through there and we're just like it's like some sort of dichotomy that they can't work out, you know, and we're the type of people where if you approach us and you're not completely sketchy out, you know, weird vibe, then we'll, you know, we'll holler, you know, we'll talk to you and have conversation, man. But that could be a rabbit hole sometimes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And because people don't know what to say, you know, it's interesting. It's very interesting to have traveled and with this crew and what we've the vibe that we carry, because it's always, I think only our true fans and the people who like really listen to our music know us, and then, you know, there's others that listen to our music and then they listen to one person or another, and that becomes Jesus Christ. What is that, yo?
I don't know what happened just now.
Yo, like
Why
on some
are
real shit,
y'all?
I feel like we're
We
talking
need
exactly that under
we need a
exec
moderator,
Kanye. That's
yo.
exactly like you idiot. Go
We
jump
need a
off the bridge,
moderator. No,
homie.
don't give that motherfucker any energy at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, but that's case in point. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Ignorant.
man, it's interesting to do what we do and have people interpret us the way that they interpret us, and we've traveled to many places and dealt with so many different types of energy, but we somehow get through, and we have these crazy stories to tell, but you know, we still sitting here. What the? Don't even know, yo. Don't even. It's like somebody trying to measure 2 inches, but they got to stretch it a bit, and it ain't even working. So don't even. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting to hold the energy that we hold as a crew, and still yeah, and still manage to get through all the crazy shit that we get through. Why are y'all even reading that shit? Are y'all reading it? Don't read it.
That shit is amazing. Yo, that's good literature, homie. Hell yeah.
Read it.
You at the ranch. Word
It's
up,
probably
man.
probably
He's gonna turn off his internet
I'm sorry.
real soon. That's all I'm
Once I
saying.
saw the first one, I have yet to look over there again, and I will not give my energy to whatever nonsense is
Anywho.
going on within
probably a good
that.
idea.
But Twitch.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time and spending some time with me this evening. Is there anything else that you want to add or promote?
Yeah. Make sure you go check out visionaryhiphop.com. Also, the visionaries.bandcamp.com. Our albums on all major digital platforms. We are in the process of getting the album on vinyl. So, yeah, man. Just follow us on Instagram and Twitter, the Visionaries. So, yeah.
Yep. And thank y'all for
I hope you guys have a great
hanging out
weekend
with us, and thank you for
Thank you, Laura.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
As soon as I saw that video, I've been a fan of you guys forever, but as soon as I saw that video, I was like, I need to interview them.
So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and stay healthy.
Same to you.
Shouts to everyone in the chat room except a certain individual. What up,
Yeah.
Neil?
Yeah.
Neil,
Thank y'all for
Neil,
hanging out with us.
Same.
Neil, you have to tell me to block those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, it's all love. It's all love, man.
Here,
You know, we
Chase.
got to do what we can to get attention sometimes.
Neil,
So,
tell Yuko said hello and give a hug to
Lily.
for me. Yeah,
Lily.
from Uncle Rhett. So, thank you guys.
Dan the man.
Yeah.
yeah.
Peace.
Blessings, yo.
Much love.